Chapter 371. Jiyu glanced at the copper cup on the table. Because of his experience in Yinchuan ancient city, he subconsciously kept an eye on it. But this time, he didn't see anything wrong with the wine. Ding! The host has taken a look at the first-grade mysterious wine and triggered 999 times comprehension ability. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully understanding the brewing method of the first-grade mysterious wine. Mysterious wine? After hearing the system's words, Jiyu understood that there should be no problem with the wine. At this time, Jiyu's stunned look happened to be noticed by Elder Zheng. He immediately laughed and said, "Don't worry, there won't be a problem with my wine. Didn't you see that Elder Su has been drinking it? And the wine that Yang Qingxue gave you last time was only because she drugged it." The Elder Su he was talking about was naturally the Elder of the Gravity Field. At this time, Jiyu had already come to his senses. Without saying anything, he directly picked up the copper cup and drank a mouthful. Ding! The host has taken a sip of the third-grade mysterious wine, and the effect has increased by 999 times. After drinking this mouthful, Jiyu immediately felt that the qi in his body had increased by a little. One must know that he was now in the peak of LV8 Tongxian realm, and the qi in his body had become more mellow under the influence of the sky-splitting technique. Even if it was only a little bit of qi, it was enough to prove that the effect of this cup of wine was indeed good. "How is it?" Elder Zhao asked. "Elder Zhao, you have good skills," Jiyu praised. To be able to brew such wine, Elder Zhao was indeed very good at brewing wine. "As long as you're satisfied." Elder Zhao smiled and raised his copper cup. "Come, let me toast you." Seeing this, Jiyu also raised his copper cup and clinked it with Elder Zhao's. Ding! The host has taken a sip of the third-grade mysterious wine, and the effect has increased by 999 times. Ding! The host has taken a sip of the third-grade mysterious wine, and the effect has increased by 999 times. After drinking the whole cup, Jiyu didn't feel drunk at all. He felt that this should be the system's credit. Just like taking pills, almost all the negative effects were removed by the system. At this time, Elder Zhao also noticed that Jiyu seemed to be fine after drinking a cup of wine. "You have a good tolerance for alcohol, young man," Elder Zhao said in surprise. "Even Elder Su can't drink anymore after a few cups. Why are you fine?" Moreover, most people who drank this kind of third-grade profound wine for the first time would be unable to hold on after drinking 1 or 2 cups at most. Even Elder Su, who was at LV9 Tongxian realm, could only drink 3 or 4 cups of grade 3 profound wine the first time he drank it. Elder Zhao had never seen anyone like Jiyu who was fine after drinking an entire cup. "SOSO," Jiyu said humbly. "Since Protector Ji can hold his liquor so well, I can't be stingy." Before the large pot of wine on the table was finished, Elder Zhao took out another large pot of wine from his storage ring. He wanted to see how good this young man's alcohol tolerance was. Jiyu also saw Elder Zhao's intention, but he didn't care. With the help of the system, he couldn't get drunk at all. Drinking this third-grade, profound wine could also improve one's cultivation. There were only benefits and no disadvantages, so it would be a waste not to drink it. Elder Zhao filled Jiyu's copper cup and his own copper cup at the same time. "Come, let's toast again," Elder Zhao said. Then, the two of them drank another cup of wine without any hesitation. Elder Zhao deliberately paid attention to Jiyu, but found that he was still fine. He suddenly felt strange. No matter how good his alcohol tolerance was, he shouldn't be fine after drinking 2 cups of third-grade profound wine. Even he felt a little dizzy now. He didn't believe it. Elder Zhao felt that Jiyu was just pretending, so he must get this young man drunk. Another cup. Another cup. Again. Unknowingly, Jiyu and Elder Zhao had already drunk more than 10 or 20 cups. Again, burp. Elder Zhao's body swayed, and he stuttered. It was obvious that he was drunk. On the other hand, Jiyu was fine from beginning to end. His face was not red, and his heart was not beating fast. "Elder Zhao, let's just forget about it." Elder Su couldn't bear to watch anymore. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that it was impossible for Elder Zhao to win. At the same time, he was shocked by Ji Yu's alcohol tolerance. This was like a monster. A normal person couldn't do it. Again. However, Elder Zhao acted like he didn't hear it and continued to drink with Ji Yu. The two drank 3 cups each. This time, Elder Zhao finally couldn't take it anymore and fell unconscious on the table. Chapter 372. Elder Zhao was already drunk, but Ji Yu was still drinking. Since there was only a little wine left on the table, he might as well finish it all. Moreover, he felt that his cultivation was about to break through, so he planned to use the effect of this wine to break through in one go. Ding! Host has drunk a mouthful of third-grade wine. Effect increased by 999 times. Ding! Host has drunk a mouthful of third-grade wine. Effect increased by 999 times. Ding! Congratulations, host. Martial cultivation has successfully broken through to the early stage of Tong Xian realm. This time, Ji Yu used a cultivation technique to suppress the momentum of the breakthrough in order to avoid unnecessary trouble. Ding! Host has used the king-level cultivation technique Sky Splitter. Effect increased by 999 times. It's about time for me to leave. I'll have to trouble Elder Su. Ji Yu stood up and said to Elder Su, "Oh, okay." At this moment, Elder Su's eyes were still flashing with surprise. Ji Yu not only made Elder Zhao, who had the best alcohol tolerance in the Kanglan Branch Hall, drunk, but he still did not look drunk at all. After that, Ji Yu put away his identity card and left. After returning to his residence, Ji Yu went straight to sleep. The next day, Ji Yu was about to go to the gravity room to continue cultivating when he suddenly received a notice. He took a look at it. It basically said that the Azure Water Imperial Academy's Grand Elder Gao Yun had betrayed him. He had previously hired people from the Azure Water Imperial Academy with a large sum of money, but after the matter was done, he changed his mind and only paid 1/10 of the promised reward. Since Gao Yun was the younger brother of the Kanglan Empire Academy principal Gao Huan, and Gao Huan was a very protective person, the Kanglan Branch Hall had to send someone to ask for an explanation. This time, the 2 Vice Hall Masters and 4 Elders were supposed to appear. However, 2 of the 3 Vice Hall Masters were in seclusion, so only one could appear. Coincidentally, Ji Yu had just received the power of inheritance and could be considered a future Vice Hall Master or even a Hall Master. As a result, he and the other Vice Hall Master had to go to the Kanglan Empire Academy to ask for an explanation. However, Ji Yu didn't feel any unwillingness. The Kanglan Empire Academy had always been his enemy. This time, he was more than happy to go against the Kanglan Empire Academy. Soon, Ji Yu changed into a black outfit. This was the rule of the Azure Water Branch Hall. No matter who it was, they had to be dressed in black, no matter what mission they carried out. This was also the reason why, before joining the Azure Water Branch Hall, the people Ji Yu saw in the Azure Water Branch Hall were all black-clothed men. According to the notice, Ji Yu arrived at the designated departure point, which was the entrance of the Azure Water Branch Hall. There were 5 people dressed in black here. He saw 3 familiar faces, Elder Zhao, Elder Su, and the Tong Tian Tower Elder. As for the other 2 strangers, they should be the Vice Palace Master and the 4th Elder. Ji Yu's here too. A Sky Split Tower Elder also saw Ji Yu and said to the several people beside him. Elder Zhao looked at Ji Yu. He wanted to say something, but swallowed his words. He cared about his reputation and didn't want others to know that he was drunk by Ji Yu. "You're Ji Yu?" One of the 2 unfamiliar men looked at Ji Yu and asked. "Yes." Ji Yu nodded. "I'm the Vice Palace Master, Wen Yunyang." The unfamiliar man pointed at the other person beside him and said, "He's Elder Lu Rue, Zhao Tong, Su Mingquan, and Zheng Pingtian." Then Vice Palace Master Wen Yunyang said the names of Elder Zhao, Elder Su, and the Tong Tian Tower Elder one by one. "Greetings, seniors." After listening, Ji Yu greeted them politely. He deliberately paid attention to the 6 people present. Including him, none of them had a cultivation base lower than level 9 Tongxian realm, especially Vice Palace Master Wen Yunyang. He estimated that Vice Palace Master Wen Yunyang's cultivation base was at the peak of level 9 Tongxian realm. It was rare to see such a grand lineup. Since everyone is here, let's set off now. As he spoke, Wen Yunyang suddenly whistled. Immediately, the sound of an eagle's cry came from the sky. After a while, a humongous bird descended from the sky at high speed. Ding! Host has taken a look at Beast Tamer taming beast and triggered 999 times comprehension. Ding! Congratulations to host for becoming a rank 1 beast tamer. Chapter 373. Jiyu is slightly taken aback when she heard the system notification in her mind. Beast tamer? At this moment, a pile of information suddenly rushed into Jiyu's mind. It was all information about beast tamers. Beast tamers were the same as alchemists and array masters. They were all special professions. However, beast tamers were extremely rare in the Kanglin Empire. Naturally, there were not many people who knew about this profession. Even Jiyu did not know there was such a profession. At the same time, through this information, he also knew how to tame beasts. In fact, it was to use spiritual power and beast-taming techniques to tame beasts. A gust of wind whistled and pulled Jiyu out of his inner world. He saw the huge flying beast land in front of them and flap its huge black wings a few times. Look, that's the Deputy Palace Master's black-feathered demonic eagle. That's a third-rank demonic beast. This is the first time I've seen the Deputy Palace Master's mount. It's really domineering. It said that the black-feathered demonic eagle's level has reached 3rd rank, 7th rank. It's more powerful than many of our guardian positions. Only the Deputy Palace Master can tame such a fierce beast. Originally, there were not many people nearby. Now, because of the commotion caused by the black-feathered demonic eagle, many people were attracted. Let's sit on it. Wen Yunyang ignored the people behind him and said. Seeing that the other elders had moved, Jiyu also went forward. The black-feathered demonic eagle's body was very large. There was also a carrier on its body. It was completely enough to accommodate 6 people. Sitting on the black-feathered demonic eagle, Jiyu could feel the high temperature. He had just sat down when the black-feathered demonic eagle began to flap its wings and fly into the sky. You should all be clear about the mission this time. I don't need to say more, right? Wen Yunyang asked as soon as they set off. Yes. The 4 elders responded one after another. Jiyu also immediately responded. When we reach the Kanglin Empire Academy later, don't be polite to those people. Just do what you need to do. Wen Yunyang said lightly. All right. I've long found Gao Huan and Gao Yun an eyesore. I don't want to waste my time talking to them. If they don't agree, I'll just move. It's mainly Gao Huan and Gao Yun. There's no need to care about the other innocent people. The 4 elders all agreed. Hearing Wen Yunyang's words, Jiyu couldn't help but feel excited. With him around this time, he definitely wouldn't let Gao Huan have a good time. The black feathered demon eagle was very fast, and it was still in the air. It was estimated that it would take less than half a day to reach the Kanglin Empire Academy. Along the way, Jiyu did not stay idle. He was raising the level of his heaven splitter cultivation technique. Last time, he had almost reached perfection, but Yang Qingxue had stopped him. Ding! The host has activated the King Stage Cultivation Technique Sky Splitter. The King Stage Cultivation Technique Sky Splitter has been increased by 999 times. Ding! The host has activated the King Stage Cultivation Technique Sky Splitter. The King Stage Cultivation Technique Sky Splitter has been increased by 999 times. Ding! Congratulations to the host. The King Stage Cultivation Technique Sky Splitter has successfully broken through to the peak of perfection realm. Almost half a day had passed. As the Heaven Splitter broke through to perfection, Jiyu's physique also advanced to the 9th level of the spirit body. If he were to cultivate his profound qi now, the effect would be greater than before. However, at this moment, he felt that the black feathered demon eagle was descending. It was obvious that they were about to reach the Kanglin Empire Academy. Not long after, the black feathered demon eagle landed on the ground. Ji took a closer look and realized that they were in the Kanglin Empire Academy's plaza. The surrounding students were all wearing the Kanglin Empire Academy's uniform. They were all staring at them with their mouths agape. What's going on? Why would a demon beast invade our academy? No, there are a few black-clothed men on top of that demon beast. What are they doing here? That demon beast's aura is too terrifying. No matter what, hurry up and inform the elders and dean. At this moment, when Yin left the black feathered demon eagle and gently landed on the ground. Gao Yun, get out here. Wen Yin's tone was very calm, and his voice was not loud, but it clearly entered everyone's ears. Chapter 374. The first thought that appeared in the minds of all the students was that someone was here to cause trouble. However, when they saw the 6 menacing people and the gigantic flying beast, they did not dare to act rashly. That person seems to be Gu. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from the crowd. Everyone's eyes narrowed. Sure enough, they saw a familiar face among the 6 people. Although many of them had not seen Gu with their own eyes, they had seen Gu's portrait countless times. After all, Gu had become famous in the Kanglan Empire during this period of time. Their instructors often targeted Gu as their target. It's really Gu. Did he bring the people from the Qianyuan martial house to take revenge on us? That's too bold. Do they really think that there's no one in the academy in the Kanglan Empire? Just wait and see. The dean will definitely make sure they don't leave this place alive. The crowd kept clamoring. Hurry up and inform the Grand Elder and the dean. One of them, who looked like a teacher, anxiously reminded the students beside him. Only he, who was at the 4th stage of the mystic and lightning stage, could see how serious the situation was. No matter which one of the 6 people, their cultivation base was far above his, especially the person who had threatened to kick the Grand Elder out. He even felt that he was on par with the dean. There's no need to make such a big fuss. Let's talk things over. At this moment, Gao Huan appeared. Seeing that the dean had appeared, the rest of the people quietened down. The instructor also heaved a sigh of relief. What's there to talk about? Just ask Gao Yun to come out. However, Wen Yin did not give Gao Huan any face and said rudely. This was because he was here to ask Gao Yun for an explanation, not to talk nonsense with Gao Huan. Gao Huan could not help but frown. However, it was not because of Wen Yin's attitude. It was because he saw Gu behind Wen Yin. Why was this brat with that group of people? Could it be that he was caught by those people so quickly? Gao Huan did not expect that there would be such a huge change during this period of time. Even Gu had become a member of the Azure Water Branch Hall. However, this was also to his liking. He couldn't be happier that this brat was caught. However, what he was most concerned about was that he knew all of the people on the other side. They were either vice palace masters or elders. Gee, you brat. How could you come here with these people? This is not the place to talk about this. Gao Huan smiled and said, why don't we have a seat inside first? We can have a good chat. Even though he was the dean of the Kanglan Empire Academy, he didn't dare to offend these people. Even though Vice Hall Master one's cultivation was lower than his by a small realm, if they would really fight, his strength would not be any weaker than his. Sure, but I advise you not to play any tricks. Wen Yin warned with a cold expression. Of course not, Gao Huan replied. Seeing that even the dean did not have any temper in front of these people, all of the students present were dumbfounded. What kind of person did Jiyu bring? How could the headmaster be so submissive? The instructor from before understood the severity of the situation and kept reminding the surrounding students to not be impulsive. At the same time, more and more people were attracted by the commotion here. Among them, there was no lack of instructors from the Kanglan Empire Academy. However, when those instructors saw Jiyu and the group of black-clothed people, they immediately became obedient. Not to mention that during the 3-sex tournament, Jiyu alone killed the older generation of instructors from the Kanglan Empire Academy. It was very tragic. Now, other than Jiyu, there were 5 mysterious people whose cultivation auras were far stronger than them. At this moment, when Yunyang indicated that the black-feathered demon eagle could leave, the black-feathered demon eagle immediately flew into the sky. However, it did not fly away. Instead, it circled back and forth above the Kanglan Empire Academy. It was as if once its master was in danger, it would immediately rush down to help. When Ji saw this scene, she once again obtained 999 times the beast taming attainment through the system. Then, the six of them slowly walked inside. It was worth mentioning that Ji was originally walking at the back. However, the four elders deliberately slowed down their pace so that Ji and Vice Hall Master Wen Yunyang could walk side by side while they walked behind. Gao Huan also noticed this detail, which immediately shocked him. His eyes were filled with shock. What kind of status did this kid have in the Kanglan Empire Academy to be able to make those elders consciously give up their positions? Elder? Or had he already become one of the 3 Vice Hall Masters of the Kanglan Empire Academy? At this moment, Gao Huan was bewildered. The development of the situation had far exceeded his imagination. Chapter 375. Kanglan Empire Academy, Guest Reception Hall. There were many students gathered outside. Even if they couldn't hear what the people inside were saying, they still gathered here. Inside the luxurious hall, there were 14 people. On one side were 6 people from the Kanglan Branch Hall, and on the other side were 8 people from the Kanglan Empire Academy, including Gao Huan. I've already sent someone to inform Gao Yun. He'll be here soon. Gao Huan said to the 6 people in front of him. Wen Yunyang didn't say anything and just waited quietly. He came here purely for Gao Yun's matter, and he didn't want to waste his breath on anything else. Seeing that Wen Yunyang ignored him, Gao Huan's expression didn't change. He turned his gaze to Ji Yu, who was beside Wen Yunyang, and deliberately said, "Now, Mr. Ji has also become a member of the Evolving Temple." Compared to his brother Gao Yun's mess, he was more concerned about Ji Yu. He had to find out what kind of position this kid had in the Kanglan Branch Hall. If he really became one of the 3 Vice Hall Masters, then he would be in big trouble. "So what if I am?" Ji Yu said casually, not giving Gao Huan the slightest bit of respect. "Does that mean you left the Qianyuan martial house?" Gao Huan didn't care and continued to ask. This time, Ji Yu didn't even bother with him to prevent him from playing any tricks. Now that Ji Yu is one of the protectors of the Kanglan Branch Hall, of course he left the Qianyuan martial house. Suddenly, Elder Zhao Tong answered on Ji Yu's behalf. Whether it was his expression or his tone, there was a trace of undetectable arrogance. In his eyes, the Kanglan Branch Hall was the supreme existence in the entire Kanglan Empire. From his point of view, Ji Yu and the Kanglan Branch Hall was Ji Yu's only way out. What Qianyuan martial house? What Kanglan Empire Academy? The so-called 3 Holy Lands would only bury Ji Yu's future. In fact, it wasn't only him. Anyone who had their soul invaded by the evolving crystal would think the same. Protector? Gao Huan narrowed his eyes when he heard Zhao Tong's words. It was only the position of protector. How could it make the 4 elders consciously give up their positions and even walk side by side with Wen Yunyang, a deputy palace master? But looking at Zhao Tong's appearance, it did not seem like he was lying to him either. Perhaps it was Ji Yu's talent that made them value him more, Gao Huan thought to himself. If Ji Yu was really just a protector in the Azure Water Branch Hall, then he would feel more at ease. Based on his understanding of the Azure Water Branch Hall, the main difference between a protector and a Vice Hall Master was not strength, but status and authority. The Deputy Palace Master had a very high status and was extremely powerful. If Ji Yu really became the Vice Hall Master, then the Kanglan Empire Academy would be in deep trouble. Moreover, it just so happened that their Kanglan Empire Academy and Kanglan Branch Hall recently had some unpleasant friction and estrangement. He didn't need to care about Ji Yu anymore. What Gao Huan needed to care about now was the mess his brother Gao Yun had created. As for Gao Yun's matter, although he is not here yet, we can talk about it first. Gao Huan changed the topic. Gao Yun broke the rules this time. What kind of apology do you all want? 2 options. First, have Gao Yun come out and apologize in person and pay double the original reward. Wen Yunyang coldly said. Second, if Gao Yun is unwilling to come out, then we will pay 5 times the original reward and the demon beast that is being suppressed under the Kanglan Empire Academy. Otherwise, I don't mind bathing the entire Kanglan Empire Academy in blood. I believe that Protector Ji will be very interested, right? At the end of his sentence, when Yunyang intentionally glanced at Ji Yu, Deputy Palace Master was right. The corners of Ji Yu's mouth curled up slightly as he replied. In reality, he wasn't interested in bathing the Kanglin Empire Academy in blood. Instead, he was interested in the demon beast that was being suppressed under the Kanglin Empire Academy. He had never liked killing, especially those who were innocent. Before this, he had never heard of a demon beast being suppressed under the Kanglin Empire Academy. Are you crazy? At this moment, Gao Huan's eyes suddenly darkened. He didn't know if it was because of Wen Yunyang's words or because of the demon beast that was being suppressed. Just tell me the first option or the second one. Wen Yunyang straightforwardly said. Gao Huan immediately fell into silence. He was hesitant to make such an important choice. That's a king-level 4th rank demon beast. Your Excellency should think carefully. After a while, Gao Huan suddenly asked. The reason I said that was because I already thought about it. Wen Yunyang calmly said, although it's a 4th rank demon beast, it has been suppressed for over 1,000 years. Its true strength is definitely below the 3rd rank. 4th rank demon beast? Hearing this, Ji Yu became even more excited. Chapter 376. A 4th rank demonic beast had the strength of a spirit profound realm martial artist. Ji Yu had only seen one demonic beast of this level, and that was the king of Bramble Demon Hounds at the beast hunting ceremony. The shock that the king of the Bramble Demon Dogs brought to him was unprecedented in history. Now, his interest in the 4th rank demonic beast that was suppressed by the Kanglin Empire Academy increased greatly. Since Your Excellency has put it this way, then I'll accept your offer. After hesitating for a long time, Gao Huan finally nodded. If he chose the first option, who knows what would happen to Gao Yin later. After all, the people of the Kanglin Branch Hall were never soft-hearted people, especially when Ji Yu was there. He had always been a very protective person. In comparison, he was more willing to compensate 5 times the reward and release the suppressed 4th rank demonic beast. Moreover, even if something unexpected really happened, he still had a way to suppress the 4th grade demonic beast again. Very good, it's settled then. When Yunyang's face finally revealed a trace of a smile. He purposely came to the Kanglin Empire Academy this time. Although the most important thing was to get an explanation, he was also eyeing the demonic beast suppressed by the Kanglin Empire Academy covetously. After all, he was a beast tamer, and he was very clear about Gao Huan's temperament. There was a high chance that he would agree to release the suppressed 4th rank demonic beast. Sir Dean, are you really going to release that underground beast? You can't, Sir Dean. The demonic beast suppressed by the founding dean must not be released. Yes, if it is released, who knows how many people will be massacred. At this moment, the people sitting beside Gao Huan were anxious and uneasy, and they all communicated with Gao Huan mentally. All of you shut up. Gao Huan also communicated with them mentally. I have my own confidence. Hearing this, those people didn't dare to say anything and could only anxiously stare there. Everyone follow me. At this moment, Gao Huan said to Ji Yu and the others, Ding, host has taken a step. Earth rank mid-level mystic skill, lightning flash gained experience. 1*999x. Ding, host has taken a step forward. The experience gained from the Earth rank mid-level profound skill, lightning flash. 1*999x. Soon, Ji Yu and the others followed Gao Huan's group to a certain place. At this point, he immediately felt that it was very familiar. A huge silver halo shone continuously in the middle of the field. Ji Yu immediately recalled. Wasn't this the same place where the 3-sect tournament was held? Who would have thought that the 4th grade demonic beast was actually suppressed under this place? This time, Ji Yu seemed to understand. This was not only an entrance to the dreamland, but also a place to suppress demonic beasts. The Scourge skeletal dragon is suppressed here. I will release the seal now. Everyone, prepare yourselves. Gao Huan reminded with a serious look in his eyes. Although the calamity skeletal dragon has been suppressed for more than 1,000 years and its strength is not as strong as before, it is still not to be underestimated. When Yunyang nodded with a relaxed expression. In the next moment, a token suddenly appeared in Gao Huan's hand. It seemed to be the exclusive token of the Kanglin Empire's Academy Dean. The token flashed with a green light, and in an instant, a beam of green light shot into the silver halo. Then, the silver halo gradually disappeared, and a crack slowly appeared on the ground. Suddenly, the ground began to tremble, and it became more and more violent. After sealing this seat for more than 1,000 years, you are finally willing to release this seat? An ancient and majestic dragon's roar came from under the ground. Hearing this sound, the faces of the people from the Kanglin Empire Academy, including Gao Huan, turned serious. They had already prepared themselves, ready to fight at any time. Only when Yunyang's expression became more and more excited, even to the point of fanaticism. Jiyu, on the other hand, was frowning slightly. Just the dragon's roar coming from under the ground made his eardrums hurt slightly. If the calamity skeletal dragon was serious, it was very likely that it would be a disaster. In the blink of an eye, an extremely large figure drilled out of the huge crack and appeared in front of everyone. This was an enormous white dragon, with 2 horns on its head and a pair of gigantic wings that covered the sky. But there were no wings at all. It could even be said that its entire body was made of white bones, with a thick sawtooth tail hanging behind its back, and 2 extremely sharp white bone claws flashing with a cold light. In each of its empty eye sockets, there was a ball of dark blue flames that constantly pulsed. At this moment, a powerful aura came crashing down on them like a mountain. This was obviously Dragon's aura. Everyone present was stunned. Fortunately, the people standing here were all mystic comprehending cultivators and above, so other than the immense pressure, they were fine. If it were a normal person present, they would have been crushed to pieces by this dragon's aura. Jiyu was the first to react. This was because this dragon's aura was equivalent to 10 times the gravity in the gravity room, and he was already used to this degree of pressure. Chapter 377. The Scourge skeletal dragon landed in front of everyone, causing the ground to tremble as a powerful draconic aura swept through the entire area. In the face of such a behemoth, everyone suddenly felt as insignificant as ants. Jiyu looked at the Scourge skeletal dragon calmly, but he was also shocked. This Scourge skeletal dragon was at least 2 to 3 times the size of the king of thorny demon dogs. Especially those white bone wings. They were so huge that the sky seemed to lose its color. The bone wings were like incomparably sharp blades. Ding! Host has discovered the Scourge skeletal dragon, triggering 999 times comprehension ability. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have successfully learned the Scourge skeletal dragon beast taming method. Hearing the system's voice, Jiyu couldn't wait to check the method of taming the Scourge skeletal dragon. This was a king-level Scourge skeletal dragon. If he could successfully tame it, it would be awesome. However, when Jiyu saw the method of taming it, he was stunned. Even the appearance of the Scourge skeletal dragon didn't make him lose his composure. At the same time, the huge commotion caused by the appearance of the Scourge skeletal dragon attracted a group of students and instructors. When they saw the huge bone dragon, their eyes immediately widened. Almost everyone had a look of horror on their faces. What is that? What's going on today? Could it be that Jiyu brought another demon beast? What is he trying to do to the Kanglin Empire Academy? I say, we better leave this place as soon as possible. Most of the students in the Kanglin Empire Academy didn't know that there was a demon beast suppressed underground. Only the instructors knew a part of the truth. When they saw the huge crack behind the Scourge skeletal dragon, they knew what was going on. However, they could not understand. Only the headmaster could release the demonic beast from the underground. Why did the headmaster release the demonic beast? Could it be Jiyu and the others forced him to do it? The instructors didn't know what to do, so they just stood there and watched. Vice Temple Master One, you asked us to release the Scourge skeletal dragon. so it's up to you now. At this moment, Gao Huan stared blankly at the scourge skeletal dragon and finally managed to communicate with Wen Yunyang mentally. However, Wen Yunyang's eyes were filled with excitement and fanaticism. It was as if he did not hear Gao Huan's voice. But soon, his expression gradually turned grim. After all, this was a fourth-stage demonic beast. His black-feathered demonic eagle paled in comparison to this calamity skeletal dragon. Thinking of the black-feathered demon eagle, he immediately looked around to see where his mount had gone. In the next moment, he was shocked to find that the black-feathered demon eagle had already landed on the ground at some unknown time. As if affected by the dragon's might, the black-feathered demon eagle crouched not far behind him, not daring to move. From this, it could be seen that the effect of the calamity skeletal dragon's dragon aura on its own kind was much more severe than its effect on humans. Returning his attention to the calamity skeletal dragon, Wen Yunyang's eyes flashed with a hint of determination. He immediately urged his spiritual power to resist the dragon's might and used the beast taming technique. A translucent, seemingly tangible, but actually formless giant net quickly attacked the scourge skeletal dragon. Oh! The scourge skeletal dragon let out a soft cry, and one of its bony front claws swiped at the void in front of it. In an instant, space seemed to be torn apart, and the invisible giant net was directly cut in half by the claw. What? Seeing this, Wen Yunyang was immediately shocked. This was a fifth-stage beast taming technique. The fifth-stage beast taming technique that he had painstakingly cultivated for more than 10 years was all for this moment. Taming a fourth-stage demonic beast should not be too much of a problem, especially a fourth-stage demonic beast that had been suppressed for more than 1,000 years. Its strength was much weaker than before. However, the result was far beyond Wen Yunyang's expectations. The fifth-stage beast taming technique did not even last a second. It did not even touch the calamity skeletal dragon before it was destroyed by the calamity skeletal dragon. Impossible. This is impossible. Wen Yunyang was unwilling to believe the truth in front of him and wanted to use the beast taming technique again. However, the chi in his body was almost depleted after he used the technique just now. He could not use the fifth-stage beast taming technique again. He lowered his head slightly, and his forehead was constantly covered in cold sweat. He was originally full of confidence, but now he messed up. At this moment, Wen Yunyang suddenly realized something. The calamity skeletal dragon in front of him was not an ordinary fourth-stage demonic beast. Just the dragon's roar alone was enough to make his mount, the black-feathered demonic eagle, lie down. No matter how powerful a fourth-stage demonic beast was, it would not be able to do this. In other words, this calamity skeletal dragon was very likely a fifth-stage demonic beast. Gao Huan, this is not a fourth-stage demonic beast. This is a fifth-stage demonic beast. At this moment, Wen Yunyang could not help but roar at Gao Huan. Hearing this, everyone present turned pale with fright. A fifth-stage demonic beast. Chapter 378. A fifth-grade demonic beast? How is that possible? Gao Huan was in disbelief. He remembered that the old ancestor had sealed a fourth-grade demonic beast 1,000 years ago. How did it become even stronger and become a fifth-grade demonic beast? Unless the historical records were wrong. That was the only reasonable explanation he could think of. That old man sealed me for over 1,000 years. Otherwise, I wouldn't be a mere fifth-grade demonic beast. The calamity skeletal dragon seemed to be complaining. I can't be bothered to waste my time with you insects. It wasn't easy for me to see the light of day again. I need to get some exercise first. The calamity skeletal dragon suddenly spread its wings. The two balls of blue flames in its hollow eye sockets were jumping with excitement. It was obvious that it was about to start a massacre. Wen Yunyang might have suffered a huge blow earlier, but he was still one of the 3 deputy hall masters of the Azure Water Branch Hall. Faced with such a serious situation, he quickly adjusted his emotions. Gao Huan, you should have a way to deal with this, right? Wen Yunyang immediately communicated with Gao Huan mentally. Hurry up and use it before we get killed. I will try my best, Gao Huan bitterly replied. He did have a way, but it was only effective against 4th-grade demonic beasts. It might not work against a 5th-grade calamity skeletal dragon. Humans, prepare to suffer my wrath. The calamity skeletal dragon flapped its wings and slowly rose into the air. It was like the king of the sky looking down on all the ants on the ground. The calamity skeletal dragon only emphasized its tone, but the students in the distance were instantly suppressed by its dragon aura. They couldn't move and were in great pain. Even the mentors didn't look too good. They ordered the other students to leave with pale faces. Wait a moment. At this moment, Jiyu walked towards the calamity skeletal dragon with a calm expression. Her sudden action immediately attracted the attention of the others. Jiyu, what are you doing? When Yunyang asked Jiyu through mental communication. Jiyu, hurry up and retreat. The calamity skeletal dragon is very dangerous. Don't be rash. Calm down. The 4 elders also tried to persuade Jiyu. However, Jiyu didn't care at all. She fearlessly walked towards the scourged skeletal dragon. He activated his spiritual power and opened his storage ring, upon which a dozen candies suddenly appeared in his hand. Are you not afraid of death? The scourged skeletal dragon was halfway through its sentence when it suddenly smelled a very pleasant scent. It noticed that the smell came from the young man's hand and asked, Human, what is that in your hand? This is candy. Jiyu said calmly. If you like it, you can come down and have a taste. Ugh. The scourged skeletal dragon was very interested in the candy in Jiyu's hands. It slowly landed on the ground. What the hell is this? Everyone around them was dumbfounded by what they saw. This brat took out some candy, and the scourge-bone dragon obediently stopped. The instructors and students who were further away had no idea what was going on. When the scourge skeletal dragon returned to the ground, Jiyu immediately threw all the candies in her hand into its mouth. Catch! A short moment passed by. This candy is so delicious. Do you have more? Give it to me. The scourge skeletal dragon said excitedly. The dragon might emanating from its excited words was naturally even more powerful. The students in the distance were at a loss for what to do, and they didn't know what to do, but they immediately began to wail and run for their lives. One, Yunyang, Gao Huan, and the others were the closest to the scourge skeletal dragon. Even though they were the ones who were most affected by the dragon might, their cultivation bases were quite powerful, so they were able to hold on. Furthermore, this was just the dragon might that the scourge skeletal dragon had unintentionally unleashed when it was speaking. It hadn't been serious from the very beginning. They were even more dumbstruck now. It was just some candy, but it was able to make the scourge skeletal dragon act so abnormally. I do have more, but you have to promise me one thing. Jiyu continued. You have to listen to me obediently from now on. All right, I'll listen to you from now on. The scourge skeletal dragon didn't even hesitate before agreeing. Jiyu was quite surprised that the scourge skeletal dragon agreed so easily. Even though it was only a verbal agreement, it should be safe for now. Furthermore, now that he knew the method to tame the scourge skeletal dragon, he would have plenty of chances to do so in the future. The reason why Jiyu was stunned when she saw the method to tame the scourge skeletal dragon was because the method to tame it was to give it something sweet. He just so happened to have some candy and other sweets stored in his storage ring. He didn't think that they would come in handy at a time like this. However, right at this moment, Jiyu suddenly felt something connect with her soul. Hurry up. Don't be so slow. Then, the impatient voice of the scourge skeletal dragon sounded in his mind. Only now did he realize that the scourge skeletal dragon was establishing a soul contract with him. Soul contracts were actually one of the aspects of beast tamer knowledge. It wasn't like normal beast tamers who forcibly tamed monster beasts and turned them into pets or mounts. Instead, it was a life and death relationship between humans and monster beasts. In this kind of soul contract, if one party died, the other party would also die. How could Jiyu be willing to accept something like this? However, just as he was about to sever the soul connection, the scourge skeletal dragon's voice sounded in his mind again. All right, I've already established a soul contract with you, so you don't have to worry about me not listening to you anymore. What the F asterisk CK? You can F asterisk king force me to do this? Jiyu's mind instantly exploded. Chapter 379. His life and death were directly tied to a demonic beast, and it was even forced to do so. How could Jiyu's mind not explode? Although the other party was a fifth-stage calamity skeletal dragon, he couldn't feel happy. He originally wanted to tame the calamity skeletal dragon as his pet or mount, but he was forced to establish a soul contract with it. Jiyu immediately felt like millions of dragons were galloping in his heart. I have fulfilled your conditions. Now it's time for you to fulfill your end of the bargain. The calamity skeletal dragon said expectantly. Now that the calamity skeletal dragon had established a soul contract with Jiyu, they could communicate through their souls without emitting dragon might. You tricked me so badly, and you still want candy? Jiyu couldn't help but twitch his mouth. Are you trying to go back on your word? The calamity skeletal dragon said angrily. Jiyu rubbed his forehead and sighed softly in his heart. Forget it, it's already come to this. A soul contract could never be broken, so he could only accept his fate. At least for now, this stupid and ridiculously strong calamity skeletal dragon didn't seem to be a threat to him. Go and beat that guy up, and I'll give you candy. At this moment, Jiyu turned around and pointed at Gao Huan. Gao Huan was stunned. He didn't know what was going on. When he came back to his senses, it was already too late. A white bone tail swept over like a bolt of lightning. At this moment, Gao Huan seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. Blood spurted out of his mouth uncontrollably, and his entire body was swept away. Flying in the air, he wanted to curse. Jiyu, that brat, actually ordered the calamity skeletal dragon to attack him. However, before he could feel shocked that Jiyu could order the calamity skeletal dragon, he had already fainted. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they were all dumbfounded. This included Wen Yunyang and the other 4 people who were traveling with Jiyu this time, especially Wen Yunyang. He started to doubt his life. The 5th-stage beast, taming divine ability that he had painstakingly cultivated for more than 10 years, had not had any effect on the Scourge skeletal dragon. However, Jiyu had subdued the Scourge skeletal dragon with just candy. What was the point of the beast taming technique that he had painstakingly cultivated for more than 10 years? Seeing how obedient the skeletal dragon was, Jiyu pulled out some candies from her storage ring and tossed them to the skeletal dragon. At this moment, the Scourge skeletal dragon was as happy as a little fatty that weighed several tons. Let's go. Take me out of here first. Jiyu continued to communicate with the Scourge skeletal dragon through her soul. He had ordered the Scourge bone dragon to attack Gao Huan to teach him a painful lesson. However, Gao Huan's life force seemed to be quite tenacious. Furthermore, the Scourge bone dragon had yet to unleash its full power. Gao Huan guessed that it was still alive. However, this time, Jiyu had completely offended the Kanglan Empire Academy. He didn't want to kill the innocent, so he might as well just leave. Furthermore, the Black Feather Demon Eagle would only dare to make a move if he allowed the Scourge skeletal dragon to leave with him. Otherwise, it would be inconvenient for the Vice Palace leaders and elders to leave. After saying this, Jiyu leaped onto the Scourge skeletal dragon's back. All right, the Scourge skeletal dragon didn't resist and allowed Jiyu to step on its back. Immediately afterward, it flapped its skeletal wings and flew into the sky. Such a massive body appeared to be cumbersome, but in reality, it was terrifyingly fast. Soon, it became a small dot that disappeared into the horizon. Everyone stared up at Jiyu's departing back on the Scourge skeletal dragon. This scene was extremely shocking to them. At this moment, Wen Yunyang took a deep breath and barely managed to stabilize his emotions. Seeing as Jiyu is left, then let's go as well. We've already gotten what we want anyway. Wen Yunyang turned to the 4 elders and said, long before Gao Huan had unsealed the Scourge skeletal dragon, they had already compensated him with 5 times the reward. As for the Scourge skeletal dragon, There was nothing to feel sorry about. It was true that he wasn't as skilled as others. Ji was able to tame the scourge skeletal dragon because Ji was capable. Then, when Yunyang blew a whistle, the black feathered demonic eagle that was lying on the ground sensed that the scourge skeletal dragon's aura was far away. It immediately flew to Wen Yunyang's side. Then, Wen Yunyang and the four elders rode on the black feathered demonic eagle and left. At this moment, the people from the Kanglan Empire Academy finally reacted. The students were all panicking like headless flies. Don't run around. Hurry up and find the dean. Hurry up and check on the dean. The mentors all shouted loudly. At the same time, Ji had already left the Kanglan Empire Academy on the Scourge Skeletal Dragon. Let's stop at an uninhabited island for a while. Ji thought to himself. He immediately ordered the Scourge Skeletal Dragon to land on the island not far away. He wasn't in a hurry to return to the Kanglan Sub-Palace Hall. He had to figure out the Scourge Skeletal Dragon first. First of all, can you shrink a little? Ji asked the Scourge Skeletal Dragon in front of him. He couldn't possibly bring such a huge Scourge Skeletal Dragon back to the Kanglan Sub-Palace Hall. That would be too troublesome. However, this troublesome fellow had established a soul contract with him. It was impossible for him to not bring it with him. Shrink? I'll try. In the next moment, the Scourge Skeletal Dragon's body shone with a dazzling silver light. Its body began to shrink continuously. Such a dazzling light made it difficult for Ji to open his eyes. But from the slits of his eyes, he seemed to see a petite humanoid figure. Chapter 380. When the dazzling white light dissipated, Ji took a closer look. He discovered that the originally huge Calamity Skeletal Dragon had turned into a young girl who was only about 1.34 meters tall. She was much shorter than Jiang Yuechu and Jiang Yuexin. She had a face as delicate and cute as a porcelain doll. Her silver white hair draped over her shoulders. Her long eyelashes trembled slightly as she slowly opened her eyes. There seemed to be flames flickering in her blue eyes. She still had the white bone horns on her head and the white bone tail behind her. However, she was no longer as huge as before. She looked much smaller now. Furthermore, she was completely naked, so you can transform into a human. Ji couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. This was the first time he had seen a demon beast transform into a human. Moreover, it was a young girl. No wonder he always thought that this Calamity Skeletal Dragon was silly. It was actually a young dragon. Normally, the lifespan of a dragon was measured in tens of thousands of years. It was not difficult for them to live for hundreds of thousands of years. The Calamity Skeletal Dragon before him had only been sealed for 1,000 years. Not to mention how old they were before they were sealed, just these 1,000 years were not worth mentioning to the Dragon Clan. Didn't you want me to become smaller? The young girl's voice became much more childish. I couldn't think of any other way. I could only transform into your human form. How old are you now? Do you have a name? Ji asked curiously. Age? Let me think. I think I'm a little over 1,000 years old. Hearing this, Ji finally understood. A little over 1,000 years old was at most a child to a dragon. As for a name, I don't have one. The young girl continued. Ever since I can remember, I have never seen any relatives or even my own kind. Later on, I was sealed in that lousy place by an old human man. Although there was no emotion in her words, Ji could still feel that she had been very lonely for 1,000 years. After all, she was still so young. Then let me give you a name. Ji said. Really? The young girl looked at Ji expectantly. I'll call you Xiao Gu from now on. Ji was not good at naming people. After thinking about it for a long time, he finally thought of a more suitable name. Little Gu. This is my name from now on. A hint of joy appeared on Xiao Gu's face. Then I'll help you put on some clothes first. As she spoke, Ji took out a spare white robe from her storage ring and put it on Xiao Gu. Although he was not interested in such a young girl, it was not very elegant to be naked like this. However, not long after, Xiao Gu tore apart the white robes on his body. In fact, She didn't use any strength at all. It was just that she used too much strength, and it cracked with a casual tug. No, this kind of thing is uncomfortable for me, Xiao Gu said in a displeased tone. You have to wear it even if you don't want to. Didn't you promise to listen to me? As she spoke, Ji took out a white robe and a few candies. If you can put it on properly, I'll give you these candies. Oh, all right, I promise you. Xiao Gu couldn't resist the temptation of those candies, and his saliva almost flowed out. Then, she obediently put on the white robe. However, she didn't seem to know how to put on clothes, and her clothes were all over the place. Ji could only help Xiao Gu tidy up the white robe that she put on carelessly. Although this white robe was in Jiyu's size and looked very big and loose on Xiao Gu, as long as she wore it tightly, it could completely cover her entire body. He planned to wait until he returned to the Navy-Tide branch hall before he specially picked out a few sets of suitable and beautiful clothes for Xiao Gu. There was a trading center in the Navy-Tide branch hall that specialized in trading, but he had never been there before. Now, he could only make do with the white robe for now. After that, Jiyu gave the candies in his hand to Xiao Gu as promised. Now that Xiao Gu was in her human form, she wouldn't swallow all the candies in one gulp like before. Instead, she put them in her mouth one by one and slowly savored them. Seeing the happy expression on Xiao Gu's face, Jiyu couldn't help but smile slightly. Chapter 381. Speaking of which, what did you do to be sealed under the Kanglan Empire's academy 1,000 years ago? Jiyu continued to ask. I didn't do anything, but I was sealed by a bad old man for no reason. I was even sealed for so long. Xiao Gu complained as it sucked on its candy. I see. Ji nodded slightly. The bad old man that Xiao Gu was referring to was probably the ancestor of the Kanglan Empire's academy, who was also the first dean. Perhaps the ancestor was worried that Xiao Gu would cause a great deal of trouble in the Kanglan Empire, so he sealed Xiao Gu in advance. As for the real reason, he was too lazy to think about it and had no way of knowing. Now, Ji went through the entire process again. Gao Huan released the Calamity Skeletal Dragon, and then formed a soul contract with it, forming a life and death relationship. He also vaguely realized that he seemed to be affected by the soul contract, and he felt a sense of closeness to Little Gu. However, this feeling was mutual, and it should be the same for Xiao Gu. So this was nothing. At this moment, Jiyu suddenly remembered that Xiao Gu was a 5th-rank demonic beast, which was even stronger than a spirit profound realm expert. This also meant that he could do whatever he wanted in the Kanglan Empire in the future. One had to know that if the Kanglan Empire excluded a few unknown experts, the strongest expert was the Duke of Storms, who was at the peak of 9th tier of the Tongxian realm. As for the Duke of Storms, at most, Xiao Gu could kill him with one slap. After Xiao Gu finished eating its candy, Jiyu said, "Let's go. Let's continue." At this moment, Xiao Gu was still licking the remaining sweetness off its little hand. Speaking of which, if we're going to fly to another island, you'll have to turn back into a dragon again. Ji said, "No need." After saying that, a pair of bone wings suddenly grew out of Xiao Gu's back, piercing 2 holes in its white robe and growing out of them. This pair of silver-white bone wings added up to about 2 meters long, almost twice as big as Xiao Gu's height. You can do that? Ji was surprised. Now you can sit on my body. Xiao Gu said, "Sit on you?" The corners of Jiyu's mouth twitched. Forget it. Just hold hands. He was a grown man, sitting on top of a young girl. That image was really unbearable to look at. Although she was a 1,000-year-old dragon girl, it was too much. That works too. Xiao Gu extended a small hand. Jiyu immediately held Xiao Gu's hand and instantly felt that it was small and soft. Let's go. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Gu directly leaped up from the ground. Using the recoil force of the stomp, it shot straight up into the air. Fortunately, Jiyu's cultivation was high enough and her body was strong enough. Otherwise, if it were an ordinary person, their entire body would probably fall apart from the impact. Next, Jiyu gave Xiao Gu directions. Not long after, Xiao Gu brought Jiyu and flew to the island where the Azure Water Branch Hall was located. Due to the existence of the inferior 5th grade concealment array, there were no buildings on the island when looking down from the sky. However, Ji-Yu could be sure that the Azure Water Branch Hall was on this island. "Let's go down." At this moment, Ji-Yu said to Xiaogu. "Okay." Xiaogu nodded and immediately descended. When they completely landed on the ground, she retracted that pair of bone wings. At this moment, Ji-Yu could see that Xiaogu's bone wings could be completely retracted through the 2 holes on her white robe, leaving only 2 white marks. Xiaogu's skin was as white as snow to begin with. If one didn't look very carefully, one wouldn't notice these 2 white marks at all. If you can retract your wings, can you retract your dragon horns and tail too? Ji-Yu asked Xiaogu. If they could be retracted, they wouldn't be so eye-catching. "I can't retract my dragon horns and tail for now." Xiaogu used her hands to touch the pair of white-boned dragon horns on her head. "Because my current strength is not enough. When I break through to become a 6th grade demonic beast, I should be able to do it then." 6th grade demonic beast. Ji-Yu's eyes suddenly trembled. At this moment, he realized that Xiaogu was still in her infancy. Moreover, she was already a 5th grade demonic beast after being sealed for 1,000 years. He couldn't imagine how far Xiaogu could grow in the future. Chapter 382. Not to mention a 6th grade demonic beast. A 7th grade or 8th grade demonic beast might not even be Xiaogu's limit. With such terrifying potential, if it could become a 9th grade demonic beast in the future, it would stand at the peak of the entire mysterious heavenly mainland. For a moment, Ji did not know whether the soul contract he established with Xiaogu was good or bad. Forget it. Let's not think so much for now. Ji threw these thoughts to the back of his mind. He held Xiaogu's hand and walked into the Navy Tide Hall together. "Greetings, Guardian Ji." The ordinary disciples and deacons of the Navy Tide Hall greeted Ji-Yu respectfully when they saw him. They knew very well that although Ji-Yu was only a guardian now, he had already accepted the power of inheritance from the evolution crystal. From a certain perspective, Ji-Yu was already a future Vice Hall Master. For the sake of their own future, even if they did not frantically curry favor with him, they definitely could not leave a bad impression on Ji-Yu. Ji-Yu could not return their greetings one by one, so he decided not to. He held Xiaogu's hand and continued walking inside. The surrounding people noticed that there was a very strange little girl beside Ji-Yu. She was clearly a human, but she had strange horns and a tail. Regarding this, they could not help but whisper to each other. "By the way, who is that little girl beside Protector Ji? I'm not sure. She might be Guardian Ji's younger sister. I didn't expect him to bring his younger sister to our Navy Tide Hall. I'm more concerned about the horns on that little girl's head and the tail behind her. No matter how I look at it, she doesn't look like a normal human, right?" While the crowd was discussing, an eagle's cry suddenly came from the sky. It was obvious that when Yunyang and the others had returned, Ji was slightly surprised. He originally thought that when Yunyang and the elders had returned long ago. However, it made sense. The black-feathered demonic eagle's speed could not be faster than Xiaogu's. Even if he and Xiaogu stopped on a small island for a long time, the black-feathered demonic eagle could not catch up to Xiaogu. At the same time, one Yunyang, who was in the air, discovered Ji below. He also sensed the aura of the Calamity Bone Dragon. He immediately ordered the black feathered demon eagle to descend and land beside Ji. Wen Yunyang immediately jumped down from the black feathered demon eagle. Ji, halfway through his sentence, he suddenly noticed the little girl beside Ji. Especially when he saw that pair of bone dragon horns and bone tail, his eyes immediately widened. "You, the little girl beside you, is that Scourge skeletal dragon?" Wen Yunyang asked Ji with a stiff expression. "That's right. She's the Scourge skeletal dragon. She's now in human form." Ji answered honestly. Even if he wanted to hide something like this, he couldn't. After all, Xiaogu's current appearance was extremely eye-catching. At this moment, Xiaogu also turned to look at Wen Yunyang. "Oh, I remember you," Xiaogu said. You seem to be that guy who threw a broken net of unknown stuff at me. Perhaps because she was in human form, Xiao Gu couldn't speak with dragon's might. Otherwise, the ordinary disciples around them wouldn't feel good. That's me, Wen Yunyang said with a bitter smile. In front of this scourge skeletal dragon, he didn't dare to show any temper. Although the scourge skeletal dragon looked like a cute little girl now, if she really got serious, the entire Kanglan Branch Palace Hall wouldn't be able to withstand the wrath of the scourge skeletal dragon. The main thing was that he wasn't sure if the scourge skeletal dragon would listen to Jiyu. The other four elders didn't know whether to laugh or cry when they heard this. That was the 5th rank beast taming technique that the Vice Palace Master was most proud of. In the end, it turned into an unknown broken net in the mouth of the scourge skeletal dragon. As for those who didn't know what was going on, they were confused. What broken net? The only thing they could hear was that the little girl was very disrespectful to the Vice Palace Master. But what shocked them was that the Vice Palace Master didn't seem to be angry at all. They couldn't have imagined that such a cute and harmless little girl was actually a scourge skeletal dragon that was even stronger than a spirit profound realm expert. Jiyu, are you sure this scourge skeletal dragon isn't a threat to us? At this moment, Wen Yunyang mentally communicated with Jiyu. However, Jiyu had established a soul contract with Xiao Gu. In other words, Xiao Gu could hear Wen Yunyang's one-sided mental communication with Jiyu. Human, this seat can hear you. Xiao Gu directly communicated with Wen Yunyang through Jiyu. What? Wen Yunyang was taken aback. He looked at the little girl in horror. Don't worry, human. As long as Jiyu isn't willing, I won't do anything to you. Xiao Gu continued. Chapter 383. At this moment, Wen Yunyang was still in shock. Normally, no third party would be able to hear his mental communication with Jiyu. However, the disaster skeletal dragon was not within this range. Wen Yunyang did not think that this was because Jiyu had established a soul contract with the disaster skeletal dragon. This was because he did not think that the disaster skeletal dragon was willing to share life and death with Jiyu. In his mind, although Jiyu's talent and strength were very strong, he was still far from being comparable to the Calamity Bone Dragon. However, no matter what, the disaster skeletal dragon had said that it would not do anything to them, so Wen Yunyang was relieved. Since the disaster skeletal dragon could hear his mental communication, he could not say anything to Jiyu. Jiyu, I'll have to trouble you. Wen Yunyang patted Jiyu's shoulder and said emotionally. Jiyu did not understand the meaning behind Wen Yunyang's words and could only nod perfunctorily. Then, Wen Yunyang gave Jiyu a blue merchant card. This is part of the bounty that Gao Huan gave us as compensation. It's your share. Wen Yunyang said, Thank you, Vice Palace Master Wen. Jiyu took the blue merchant card and said, Those with high status or wealth were used to using merchant cards to make transactions. After all, it was not convenient to carry a large amount of gold coins, and using a merchant card could solve this problem perfectly. Jiyu had not used a merchant card before. He usually kept the gold coins in his storage ring. In fact, in terms of gold coins, the storage ring was not as convenient as the merchant card. In the Kanglan Empire, merchant cards were divided into 3 grades. From low to high, they were white, green, and blue. Ordinary people did not have the qualifications to obtain a merchant card. Only those with a small status could obtain a white merchant card. Green merchant cards could only be obtained by mid-sized families. As for the holders of blue merchant cards, they had to be at least in the mystic comprehending realm and had a high status and reputation. The blue merchant card in Jiyu's hand represented extremely high wealth and status. It was equivalent to a pass that could be used no matter where one went. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they were all very envious. But they didn't show it. After all, Protector Ji originally had the qualifications to obtain this blue merchant card, and no matter how envious he was, he couldn't be envious. After that, Wen Yunyang and the 4 elders left to deal with their own matters. Let's go too. Jiyu also brought Xiao Gu to her own residence. On the way, he suddenly thought of something and immediately asked, Xiao Gu, regarding the matter of the soul contract, Why were you able to complete the soul contract with me without my consent? About this, maybe it's because my soul is stronger. Xiaogu replied, in any case, I merely had a thought and completed the soul contract with you. Moreover, weren't you the one who wanted me to do this? All right then, Jiyu also got the answer. It was probably as Xiaogu had said. Xiaogu's soul was much stronger than his, to the extent that she could force him to enter a soul contract. However, at least for now, it seemed that his soul contract with Xiaogu wasn't that bad. There was no need to continue to care about this problem. Not long after, Jiyu and Xiaogu returned to their residence together. For now, this is our home for the time being. After entering the room, Jiyu said to Xiaogu, a place where humans live. I haven't seen this place for thousands of years. Xiaogu looked around the room curiously as she spoke. Due to the influence of the soul contract, Jiyu felt the loneliness in Xiaogu's heart again. In the future, I won't let you be sealed by anyone else. He couldn't help but stroke Xiaogu's silvery white hair as he comforted her. After he finished speaking, he realized that he had subconsciously made these actions. Xiaogu was slightly stunned when she heard this, but then she nodded happily. Unknowingly, she had already treated this human youth as the person closest to her. It wasn't just because of the soul contract. Chapter 384. That day, Vice Palace Master Wen Yunyang made a public announcement in the Kanglan Branch Hall. Everyone in the Kanglan Branch Hall was forbidden from provoking a little girl with a strange horn and tail. It was best not to even touch her. As for the reason, Wen Yunyang did not say. For a moment, many people were very curious. What kind of person was this little girl that the Vice Palace Master was talking about? She could actually make the Vice Palace Master mobilize so many people. After all, only a small number of people had seen Xiaogu, who was following beside Jiyu. At this moment, Jiyu was sitting on the bed and preparing to start cultivating when he suddenly felt a little hungry. It was also at this moment that he suddenly thought of something. Xiaogu had been sealed under the Kanglan Empire Academy for thousands of years. Did she not need to eat? Speaking of which, do you need to eat? Jiyu immediately asked Xiaogu. Eat. Xiaogu, who was sitting on the bed, shook her head and said, I don't need to eat. I only need candy. After hearing this, Jiyu felt that Xiaogu was even more mysterious. Not only was she powerful, but she could live for thousands of years without eating. Perhaps this was the dragon race. All right, then you stay at home obediently. I'm going to eat. After saying this, Jiyu prepared to leave. However, at this moment, Xiaogu reached out and tugged on Jiyu's sleeve. She lowered her head and said softly, Don't leave me behind. I don't want to be separated from you. Although her voice was soft, Jiyu deeply felt the loneliness in her voice. His heart softened and he replied, Come with me. Okay. Xiaogu's face lit up. She then jumped off the bed and held Jiyu's hand. Not long after they left the residence, Jiyu noticed that a group of people were looking at them strangely. However, he did not take it to heart because he knew that when Yunyang had made the announcement. Look, isn't this the little girl that the Vice Palace Master described in the announcement? She has a strange horn and tail. It really is. He seems to be very familiar with Protector Ji. I wonder who Protector Ji is to be able to make the Vice Palace Master so fearful. While this group of people were discussing incessantly, Ji had already brought Xiaogu far away. Ding! Host has taken a step forward. The experience gained from the Earth rank mid-level profound skill Lightning Flash. 1 asterisk 999X. Ding! Host has taken a step forward. The experience gained from the Earth rank mid-level profound skill Lightning Flash. 1 asterisk 999X. Not long after, Jiyu and Xiaogu arrived at the dining hall together. This was the dining area of the Azure Water Branch Hall. The entire hall was very spacious, enough to accommodate over 1,000 people at the same time. It was not lunchtime, so there were not many people in the dining hall. There were only a few dozen of them. Moreover, they were scattered all over the place. As a result, not many people noticed Xiaogu, who was standing beside Jiyu. Jiyu casually found a seat and sat down. She then asked Xiao Gu, "Are you sure you don't want anything to eat? Why are you so troublesome? Let me repeat myself." Xiao Gu said coquettishly, sounding a little impatient. "Aren't I just worried about you?" Jiyu blushed with shame. "Also, forget it, I won't say it." He originally wanted Xiao Gu to change her catchphrase of "this lord." Hearing such a young girl call herself "this lord" was too inappropriate. However, after thinking about it, he decided to forget about it. It was fine as long as this girl liked it. At this time, Jiyu casually took out a few candies from her storage ring, planning to throw them to Xiao Gu to eat slowly. Jiyu just casually threw them. However, Xiao Gu's eyes instantly lit up, and her body immediately moved involuntarily. Bang! With a stomp of her leg, the floor split open, and a crater with a diameter of at least 3 to 5 meters appeared. At this moment, the nearby tables and chairs were all overturned. Although she caught all the candies because the force of the impact was too strong, her entire body directly crashed through the ceiling of the dining hall. Ji was directly shocked by Xiao Gu's actions. The candies that he threw out were at most 3 meters high, but Xiao Gu directly flew into the sky as if she had gone crazy. The surrounding people were also given a huge fright, and some even directly fell from their chairs to the ground. What's going on? What happened? Quick, look over there. Someone smashed through the wall above. Hearing this, everyone's gazes all looked up. Right at this moment, Xiao Gu just happened to fall from midair under everyone's gazes. She didn't spread her skeletal wings. Instead, she directly landed on the ground. She caused another huge crater to appear on the floor, and those tables and chairs were also once again overturned. However, Xiao Gu was completely fine. It was just like a very normal jump. Chapter 385. The few people in the cafeteria were all dumbfounded when they saw this shocking scene. Was she even human? Moreover, she was such a young girl. Wait a minute. This seemed to be the little girl that Vice Palace Master was talking about today. Taking a closer look, this girl does have a pair of horns and a tail. She should be the one that Vice Palace Master was talking about. No wonder Vice Palace Master specially made an announcement. This is too scary. Let's stay away. They finally understood why Vice Palace Master suddenly made an announcement to warn them to be careful of a little girl. Ji was speechless, and her face twitched. This girl could cause so much damage just by eating candy. What happened? At this moment, the elder in charge of the cafeteria was alarmed and came out. He was about to explode when he saw the mess in front of him. But when he saw Ji and the strange little girl beside Ji, his anger stopped abruptly. He couldn't help but wonder if Vice Palace Master was talking about this girl today. "Guardian Ji, what happened just now?" The cafeteria elder asked Ji calmly. He didn't dare to get angry at a special existence like Ji. Ji's current position in the Azure Water Branch Palace Master was second only to the 3 Vice Palace Masters. Moreover, she was a genius personally recognized by the Palace Master and could receive the power of inheritance. "Sorry, she was too naughty just now," Ji explained. "I will compensate you for all the damaged things." No need. Guardian Ji doesn't need to compensate. These are just small matters." The cafeteria elder refused with a smile. "All right, I will take care of her in the future." Ji didn't argue and said directly. At the same time, other ordinary disciples who worked in the cafeteria ran out to see what was going on. "You guys, don't run around. Go back to work." The cafeteria elder immediately reprimanded those people. "Also, prepare 2 portions of delicacies for Guardian Ji. There is no need for 2 portions. Just 1 portion is enough." Ji reminded him. It was clear that the other party had included Xiao Gu in their calculations. If he did not remind them, they would have wasted a lot of food later on. "All right, then I'll go and prepare one." The dining hall elder hurriedly reminded the ordinary disciples who hurried back to work after hearing that. "Protector Ji, please wait for a moment." After that, the dining hall elder returned to the kitchen. However, as he walked, he thought about what had just happened. He had wanted to check the little girl's cultivation level. In the end, not only did they not find anything, they even sensed an extremely dangerous aura. It was as if he would be killed if he continued to probe for a second longer. So much so that he didn't dare to look at the little girl again. Now, he was certain that the little girl was an extremely terrifying existence. Protector G's talent and strength were already terrifying enough, but that little girl made him feel even more terrified. At the same time, he couldn't help but feel curious. What was the relationship between Guardian G and that little girl? Protector G didn't seem to be afraid of the little girl at all. Brother and sister? Or a Daoist companion? The dining hall elder felt that both were possible. That little girl looked very young, but who knew? Perhaps she was an old woman who was over 100 years old and had deliberately fixed her appearance in this state. It was not impossible. No matter what, he just hoped that she wouldn't endanger the Kanglam Branch Hall. On the other side, what exactly happened to you just now? Ji was asking Xiao Gu. It's just eating candy. Is there a need to cause such a huge commotion? I didn't want to either, Xiao Gu said aggrievedly, but I subconsciously did that. Forget it. Let's not talk about this anymore. Remember to be more careful in the future. Jiyu said helplessly. I know. After hearing Jiyu's words, the aggrieved and pitiful expression on Xiao Gu's face immediately disappeared. All of a sudden, she began to eat the candy happily again. Her expression changed faster than flipping a book. Seeing Xiao Gu like this, Jiyu also didn't know what to do with her. After that, the food was served. Jiyu ate while thinking about other things. Since I have a sole contract partner now, does that mean I can directly challenge Palace Master Mu Sun? Jiyu suddenly thought of this question. According to the normal rules of the competition, pet demonic beasts could also fight with their masters on the stage. Logically speaking, a soul contract with a demonic beast should also work. With Xiao Gu's 5th grade demonic beast level and that indescribable monstrous strength, wouldn't it be easy to deal with Palace Master Mu Sun together with him? Chapter 386. Ji remembered that Hall Master Mu Sun's cultivation was at the peak of the 9th level of the Tongshin realm. Even an almighty human at the Spirit Profound realm would not be Xiao Gu's match, let alone someone who had yet to reach the Spirit Profound realm. Although that was the case, Ji was not 100% sure. He had to ask Hall Master Mu Sun first. If that was the case, then he could defeat Mu Sun earlier. There was no need to wait until his cultivation broke through to the peak of the 9th level of the Tongshin realm, and Mu Sun would be able to leave the position of Hall Master as she wished and complete her own matters. Without thinking too much, Jiyu quickly finished his meal. Let's go. We have things to do. Jiyu stood up and said. Xiao Gu did not say anything and quietly followed Jiyu. Ding. Host has recalled the route. Bronze memory obtained experience. 1 by 999 times. Jiyu followed the route in his memory and headed towards Mu Sun's residence. About 10 minutes later, he arrived at the dense forest that he had visited last time. Mu Sun's courtyard was deep in the forest. At this time, a few ordinary disciples happened to pass by and saw someone enter the forest. They were about to remind him when they realized that it was Jiyu and an unfamiliar little girl. However, Jiyu was quite far away from them. From their perspective, the girl was blocked by Jiyu, so they did not see the girl's appearance clearly. The only thing they cared about was Jiyu. That's where Lord Hall Master lives. Guardian G dares to casually enter? Why wouldn't Guardian G dare? Previously, Lord Hall Master made an exception for Guardian G to obtain the power of inheritance in advance. And this time, it should be Lord Hall Master who summoned Guardian G. Even if Guardian G rashly barged in, Lord Hall Master probably wouldn't care. They could only look at Jiyu with admiration from afar. They only left when Jiyu's figure completely disappeared into the forest. Not long after, Jiyu brought Xiao Gu to Hall Master Mu Sun's courtyard. Is Hall Master Mu here? Jiyu didn't barge in directly. Instead, she stood in front of the courtyard and asked, Jiyu, come in. Soon, Mu Sun's enchanting voice came from inside. Hearing this, Ji pulled Xiao Gu into the courtyard. As soon as he entered the wooden house, he saw Palace Master Mu Sun sitting on a wooden chair, just like last time. Right at this moment, Mu Sun said softly, "There's another one beside you." When she used her soul perception to envelop the person beside Ji, she instantly frowned, and a trace of pain appeared on her usually cold face. Ji noticed Mu Sun's expression. He couldn't help but be surprised, because this was the first time he saw such a huge change in Mu Sun's expression. "Ji, who is the one standing next to you?" Mu Sun's tone became more serious. She had been blind since she was young and could only sense the existence of others with her soul perception. However, her soul power, which was enough to dominate the entire Kanglan Empire, had actually lost its effect today. Not only that, but she also suffered a soul backlash from the other party, which caused her soul to suffer quite a bit of damage. Fortunately, she could recover, so this wasn't a big problem. The key was, who exactly was the other party? In this Kanglan Empire, Mu Sun had never met anyone whose soul power was stronger than hers. However, today, she actually met someone who could crush her in terms of soul power. Moreover, it was brought here by Ji. Her name is Xiao Gu, but she's not human. Ji said. "Not human?" Mu Sun asked doubtfully. "Yes, I wonder if Hall Master Mu has heard of the Calamity Bone Dragon." Ji asked. "Calamity Bone Dragon?" Mu Sun pondered for a moment. "I've never heard of it." "All right, in any case, Xiao Gu is a type of demonic beast from the Dragon Clan called the Calamity Bone Dragon. Moreover, she's a 5th-rank demonic beast." Ji gave a general introduction. "She's actually a 5th-rank demonic beast." Mu Sun's tone carried a trace of surprise. A 5th-rank demonic beast was an existence that was even stronger than a spirit profound realm expert. Why did Ji bring a 5th-rank demonic beast here? Moreover, she had never thought that a demonic beast's soul power could be so strong. Normally speaking, demonic beasts were much weaker than humans in terms of intelligence, mental power, and soul power. "Ji, this lord seems to have accidentally injured this human woman just now." Right at this moment, Xiao Gu suddenly spoke to Ji. "Then why aren't you apologizing to her?" Ji immediately said. He didn't expect Xiao Gu to injure Hall Master Mu Sun just now. No wonder Hall Master Mu Sun revealed such an expression. It was clearly the human woman who used her soul power to attack this lord first. Why should this lord apologize to her? Xiao Gu's tone was filled with unwillingness. Ji was speechless. Moreover, Xiao Gu didn't seem to have done anything wrong. "It's fine," Mu Sun said indifferently. They were all here to watch. "Wait, why are there 3 people in the arena? Isn't Protector Ji challenging Lord Hall Master? Why is that little girl up there too?" While many people were puzzled by this, Zhang Xian suddenly changed his mind. The elder in charge of the arena also stepped onto the stage and explained to Ji. "Since that little girl is Ji's pet, she can challenge the position of Palace Master together with Ji." During the registration, Ji didn't say that she was a sole contract partner. Instead, she said that she was a pet. Pet. Everyone present couldn't react in time. Treating a little girl as a pet? Wasn't this too disgusting? No, this was the arena. Weren't only demonic beasts considered pets in the arena? In other words, this little girl was transformed from a demonic beast. Everyone felt that this was very inconceivable. They had never seen a demonic beast that could transform into a human form. "Then, let's start now." Mu Sun stood opposite Ji and said. "Okay." Ji responded softly. Then she said to Xiao Gu, "Xiao Gu, go." Xiao Gu stomped her hind legs, and the ground cracked. She charged towards Mu Sun at an extremely fast speed that couldn't be seen by the naked eye. No matter how strong Mu Sun's soul perception was, it was difficult for her to sense Xiao Gu's location. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Gu was already in front of Mu Sun. She threw a punch at Mu Sun. At this time, Mu Sun could barely sense Xiao Gu's movements. She immediately crossed her arms, wanting to block the other party's punch. However, in the next moment, she suddenly felt a terrifying strange force. Although she didn't feel much pain, This terrifying, strange force caused her to fly out of the arena uncontrollably. Knowing that she had already lost, she didn't struggle anymore. She somersaulted in the air and landed steadily on the ground outside the arena. Musun's most special strength was her soul perception. She could rely on her soul perception to predict all of her opponent's movements. However, today, she was completely restrained. Her opponent's terrifying speed and monstrous strength rendered her soul perception completely useless. However, Musun didn't think much of it. Her original intention was to lose to Ji and leave the position of Palace Master. The people surrounding the arena couldn't react for a moment. Their Palace Master lost just like that, and he was sent flying out of the arena by a little girl with a single punch? They very much suspected that their Palace Master had gone easy on her. However, when they saw the crater left behind by the little girl on the arena, they immediately dispelled this thought. Sure enough, that little girl was really a ferocious beast in human form. Chapter 388. As expected, this little girl was really a ferocious beast in human form. They were all extremely curious. What kind of demonic beast was this little girl's true form? To be able to defeat the Hall Master with just one punch, she had to be at least a 4th-grade demonic beast, right? Well done. Ji rubbed Xiao Gu's head. Actually, he had purposely asked Xiao Gu to hold back quite a bit. Otherwise, Hall Master Musun wouldn't have just been sent flying out of the arena. No, he shouldn't address Musun as Hall Master now, because from today onwards, Ji was the new Hall Master. At this very moment, the entire crowd was dumbfounded. The elder was also stunned for a while before regaining his senses. Then he announced, "The winner this time is Ji. The original Hall Master Musun has been defeated. From today onwards, Ji is the 156th Hall Master." Hearing the elder's words, Ji's expression didn't change much. When he looked towards Musun, he realized that Musun had disappeared without him knowing. Just like that, Ji became the 156th Hall Master of the Azure Water Hall under the shocked gazes of the entire crowd. However, that afternoon, Ji was faced with countless tokens and documents, all of which required him to review. He was currently in a grand hall, where the Hall Master dealt with matters. He had to deal with these things first before he could do his own things. Now, Ji seemed to understand why Musun wanted to leave the position of Hall Master. Not to mention that Musun had some personal matters to attend to, it was also very troublesome to review so many things every day. Meanwhile, Xiao Gu sat obediently on his lap. In order to prevent Xiao Gu from disturbing him, he gave Xiao Gu over a dozen candies at once and let Xiao Gu eat them slowly. Looking at the mountainous pile of papers in front of him, Ji took a deep breath and began to quickly review them. Ding! Host has reviewed for 1 minute. Bronze grade memory gained experience. 1 by 999 times. Ding! Host has reviewed for 1 minute. Bronze grade memory gained experience. 1 by 999 times. Ding! Congratulations, host. Bronze level memory has successfully broken through to greater mastery. Even though she read 10 lines at a glance, it still took Ji about an hour to finish reading half of the book, because they still needed to be corrected. However, after reviewing so much, Ji also learned a lot of things. Any location within the Azure Water Subhall, such as the arrangement of bounties, had to be decided by the Hall Master. Apart from that, there was also the matter of cooperation with external forces and other aspects that had to be reviewed by the Hall Master first. Especially when she had just reviewed the document of the bounty list, Ji directly changed Jiang Yuechu, Jiang Yuexin, Qi Linger, and Nangong Maching to pending. This also meant that no one would do anything to Ji and the others for the time being. When she was free, Ji would go and change the bounty list again. The Hall Master personally changed the bounty list without anyone's opinion. Ding! Host has reviewed for 1 minute. Bronze level memory experience gained. 1 by 999 times. Ding! Host has reviewed for 1 minute. Bronze level memory experience gained. 1 by 999 times. Ding! Congratulations, host. Bronze level memory has successfully broken through to the perfect realm. Ding! It has been detected that bronze level memory has reached the perfect realm. Automatically upgraded to silver level memory. After GU finished reviewing all the books for the day, her memory had also been upgraded to the silver level. I can finally get off work. GU stretched and warmed up his muscles. However, he had a more important task to do next. That was to go to the bounty hall and change the bounty list. His goal in the Azure Water sub-hall had been this since the beginning. Just as GU was about to get up, he suddenly realized that Xiao Gu, who was sitting on his lap, had fallen asleep at some point. He didn't want to wake Xiao Gu up. Instead, he carried Xiao Gu and planned to carry her back to his residence first. Ding! Host has used Lightning Flash. Lightning Flash experience gained. 999 times proficiency experience gained. GU was able to reach his residence very quickly by using an Earth-ranked medium-grade movement technique. His ability to control his body was already very strong. There were almost no bumps along the way. Naturally, he didn't wake Xiao Gu, who was sleeping soundly. Very quickly, GU returned to his residence. It was still the same place as before. Although the hall master could choose a better place to stay, he didn't want to change his residence for the time being. He gently placed Xiao Gu on the bed and covered her with a blanket. After confirming that Xiao Gu wasn't going to wake up anytime soon, GU closed the door and left. After that, GU walked in the direction of the bounty hall. His goal since joining the Azure Water sub-hall was finally going to be fulfilled today. Chapter 389. On the same day, the news of GU becoming the new temple master spread throughout the Kanglan branch hall. Everyone was shocked, including the 3 deputy temple masters. Wen Yinyang was still all right. He knew that GU had subdued the Calamity Bone Dragon. He must have defeated the original hall master with the help of the Calamity Bone Dragon. The other 2 deputy temple masters who were in seclusion couldn't sit still and came out of seclusion. However, they couldn't find GU in the main hall where the temple masters were handling their affairs. At this moment, GU was on his way to the bounty hall. Every ordinary disciple who passed by knew that he was the new temple master. They were all shouting Lord Temple Master excitedly. This was because they all wanted to curry favor with this new palace master. Soon, GU entered the bounty hall. GU, Temple Master G, why are you here? Elder Zhuang quickly asked when he saw GU. I want to make some changes to the bounty list. G said directly. With his current strength, he wasn't afraid of anyone in the Kanglan branch hall. Moreover, he had Xiao Gu with him. He could do whatever he wanted in the Kanglan Empire. He didn't need to be afraid of anything. Please. Now that GU was the new temple master, Elder Zhuang naturally had no objections. GU then erased the names of a few familiar people on the bounty list without hesitation. Seeing the names disappear, especially Jiang Yuechu and Jiang Yuexin, he could finally put down the worry in his heart. Although Elder Zhuang was confused by GU's actions, he didn't dare to ask. Since Elder Zhuang didn't say anything, the others naturally didn't dare to. Then I'll go back first. Elder Zhuang, I'll leave you to it. GU said to Elder Zhuang. Take care, Temple Master. Elder Zhuang immediately looked flattered. Okay. GU nodded slightly and walked out of the bounty hall. However, just as he was about to leave the hall, a middle-aged man with a scar on his face walked in. Furthermore, he could sense the aura of an LV9 Tongxian realm martial artist from the scar-faced man. At this moment, the scarred man suddenly stopped in his tracks. Are you GU? He stared at GU and asked. You are. GU saw that the other party didn't seem very friendly. Looks like you're definitely GU, the scar man said. I'm one of the 3 deputy palace masters. My name is Yin Ming. Oh, GU asked with slight interest. Then, why is Vice Hall Master Yin looking for me? Nothing much. I'm just a little curious. Did Hall Master G really rely on the power of the demonic beast to defeat the original Hall Master? Yin Ming asked. Hearing this, Ji raised her eyebrows slightly. Are you questioning my strength? That's pretty much it. Yin Ming also expressed his thoughts directly. Big brother, How can you speak to Home Master Ji like that? At this moment, another middle-aged man walked over. His appearance was somewhat similar to Yin Ming, but he didn't have a scar on his face. Hearing this middle-aged man was Yin Ming's younger brother. Hall Master Ji, I'm Vice Hall Master Yin Jia. He's my big brother. The middle-aged man who called himself Yin Jia said to Ji Yu with an embarrassed expression, "My big brother's words have always been unpleasant to the ears. Please don't take it to heart. It's nothing." Ji Yu's expression was still indifferent. She didn't care about Yin Ming at all. On the contrary, this Yin Jia was not very pleasing to the eye at first glance. It was obvious that these two brothers were here to cause trouble, but Yin Jia still pretended to be dignified. "So, why are you looking for me?" Ji Yu asked indifferently. "Nothing. My big brother and I are just here to greet the new Hall Master," Yin Jia said with a harmless smile. Ji Yu couldn't be bothered to continue talking nonsense with these two people. She walked around them and left. If she remembered correctly, other than Wen Yinyang, the other two Vice Hall Masters were in seclusion. And this time, these two fellows suddenly came out of seclusion and said that they were just here to greet her. Would she believe them? When Ji Yu was far away. "Second brother, why did you stop me just now?" Yin Ming said again. "This kid just joined our Azure Water Branch Hall Master. I don't think he has any real ability and defeated Hall Master Musun with the power of a demon beast. I know all this, but big brother, don't be so impulsive." Yin Jie still maintained a smile on his face. It won't be too late to act after we figure out his actual situation. "Okay, I'll listen to you, second brother," Yin Ming said with an unconvinced expression. "Anyway, I don't want to see such a wet behind-the-ears brat take the position of Hall Master." Chapter 390. The people of the Azure Water Branch Hall would always prioritize the benefits of the Azure Water Branch Hall. In the eyes of Yin Ming and Yin Jie, the two Vice Hall Masters, they felt that the young and incompetent Ji Yu was not suitable for the position of Hall Master. Compared to Ji Yu, that brat, they felt that it was better for them to be the Hall Master. At this moment, Ji Yu had already returned to his residence. He opened the door and realized that Xiao Gu was still sleeping soundly on the bed. His movements became lighter, and he tried his best not to make any noise. After that, Ji Yu sat by the bed and immediately entered cultivation mode. Although he had the help of the extremely powerful Xiao Gu, his own strength could not be weak. Ding. Host cultivated mystic Qi for 1 minute. Martial cultivation gained experience. 100 by 999 times. Ding. Host cultivated mystic Qi for 1 minute. Martial cultivation gained experience. 100 by 999 times. Until Xiao Gu woke up, Ji Yu had been cultivating the martial way. After about 3 to 4 hours, he felt that he was not far from breaking through to mid-stage 9th level of Tongxin realm. Just at this moment, Ji Yu suddenly felt someone hugging him from behind. Xiao Gu's voice came from beside his ear. "What are you doing?" However, Ji Yu's bones almost fell apart from this hug. Ding. Host's body is injured. Yellow rank superior defensive mystic skill, Stony Mountain Armor, gained experience. 999 times proficiency. Ding. Congratulations, host. Yellow rank superior defensive mystic skill, Stony Mountain Armor, has successfully broken through to reach perfection realm. Ding. Detected that Stony Mountain Armor has reached perfection and automatically upgraded to black rank inferior defensive mystic skill, Thorny Armor. After being hugged by Xiao Gu, even the defensive mystic skill automatically broke through perfection and upgraded to a black rank defensive mystic skill. From this, it could be seen how much strength Xiao Gu used. Ji Yu flicked Xiao Gu's forehead with her finger and said in a lecturing tone, "Control your strength in the future. Don't be so careless." Luckily, his body was strong enough. If it was a normal person, they would have lost their life. I know. However, Xiao Gu didn't look guilty at all. She could sense that Ji Yu wasn't hurt at all. After all, she and Ji Yu had a soul contract. Not only that, but there was also an expectant and joyful smile on his face. Looking at Xiao Gu's expression, Jiyu immediately understood that this fellow wanted candy again. You want candy, don't you? Jiyu asked deliberately. Yeah. Xiaogu nodded vigorously. In your dreams, Jiyu said mercilessly. Since you didn't control your strength just now, I have to punish you. You can't eat candy tonight. How can this be? Xiaogu was immediately displeased. You brought this upon yourself. Since you made a mistake, you should accept the punishment. Jiyu's expression remained unchanged. Looking at how this guy was laughing and joking just now, it was obvious that he didn't take his words seriously. If he didn't punish him harshly, he wouldn't learn his lesson. Xiaogu's originally smiling face instantly collapsed. Don't be like this. She stuck close to Jiyu's face and rubbed against it. Jiyu's heart was only slightly shaken by Xiaogu's coquettish behavior, but he quickly controlled himself. If it weren't for the influence of the soul contract, he definitely wouldn't have been shaken by this kind of thing in the past. No matter how Xiaogu rubbed against him, Jiyu didn't move at all. After a while, Xiaogu knew that this was useless to Jiyu. She stopped rubbing against Jiyu's face. Xiaogu's expression gradually darkened, and she directly bit Jiyu's ear. When a dragon was forced into a corner, it would also bite. However, at the same time, Jiyu coincidentally turned to look at Xiaogu. Everything was just so coincidental. Xiaogu bit Jiyu's lip. Xiaogu originally wanted to use more strength to let Jiyu know that she was angry. Now that she realized that she had bitten the wrong place, she subconsciously restrained her strength. In the end, she only lightly tapped Jiyu's lip. Jiyu was instantly stunned. He didn't expect Xiaogu to suddenly attack him in this way. The two of them stared at each other in a daze for a while. Chapter 391. Jiyu's head was filled with ellipses. What was going on? Why did this fellow suddenly kiss him forcefully? However, Jiyu reacted very quickly. He turned his head back and fell into deep thought. He felt that this should be an accident. After all, Xiaogu looked more like she wanted to bite him just now. He just happened to turn his head, and it became like that. On the other hand, Xiaogu did not feel anything at all. She did not know what this action meant at all. She was stunned for a moment just now. She did not expect Jiyu to suddenly turn his head and bite the wrong place. Hurry up and give me candy, or I'll bite you to death. Xiaogu acted as if nothing had happened, and she was still asking for candy. I said I won't give it to you, so I won't give it to you. Jiyu shook his head and said. The two of them returned to normal and continued to bicker. Good for you. Xiaogu was about to bite Jiyu's ear. Suddenly, she thought of a better idea. She sat directly on Jiyu's shoulder and kicked her slender legs around. Although she did not use much strength, she could continue to harass Jiyu like this. Not only that, she kept muttering, I want candy, I want candy, I want candy. Jiyu was speechless at this. This fellow was really annoying. However, Jiyu said that he would punish her, so he would not let her do as she pleased. Jiyu decisively blocked out all sounds from the outside world. He sat on the bed and continued to cultivate, allowing Xiaogu to make a fuss. Ding! Host cultivated mystic chi for 1 minute. Martial cultivation gained experience. 100 by 999 times. Ding! Host cultivated mystic chi for 1 minute. Martial cultivation gained experience. 100 by 999 times. However, not long after, Xiaogu's voice came directly from his soul. Because of the soul contract, you could not cut off this voice transmission at all. After a while, he could not stand the noise anymore. Jiyu opened his eyes and wanted to say something. However, Xiaogu suddenly changed the topic. Speaking of which, what exactly are you doing? What else can I do? Of course, I'm cultivating. Jiyu replied. Oh, so it's cultivation. I didn't expect you humans to cultivate like this. Xiaogu's tone sounded a little surprised. If it were me, I wouldn't need to do anything. I only need to breathe to increase my demonic power. That's just you. Why don't you try changing to other demonic beasts and see if they can be like you? Ji said. However, the more he talked about it, the more he felt that this guy was mysterious. Demonic power to demonic beasts. was almost the same as a human's cultivation. If it was a normal demonic beast that wanted to increase its demonic power, it would not be able to do so. He had to first absorb the xian qi of heaven and earth, then convert it into demonic qi. When the demonic qi in the body reached a certain level, the demonic power level would break through. First grade, second grade, third grade. These were the levels of demonic power. In fact, in essence, the process of demonic beasts cultivating demonic aura was basically the same as that of humans cultivating celestial aura. But Xiaogu was different. As long as she breathed, it would be considered as cultivation. Even the process of transforming Xian Qi into demon Qi could be completed automatically and quickly by the body. It was also because Xiaogu suddenly brought up this topic that Jiyu used the soul contract to sense the condition of Xiaogu's body. The reason why he knew so much was also because he sensed it through the soul contract. Is that so? Xiaogu asked doubtfully. I'm not sure about the other demonic beasts. I seem to have never seen any other demonic beasts since I can remember. Xiaogu continued. Back then, I had just started to remember things not long before I was sealed away. I see. Ji was silent for a moment. In a few days, I'll bring you to see other demonic beasts. When the time came, he could bring Xiaogu to the demonic beast mountain range to see her own kind. Okay, Xiaogu said cheerfully. However, you have to hand over the candy to me first. Suddenly, the topic returned to the candy. This time, Jiyu acted as if he hadn't heard anything. He also stopped cultivating and lay down on the bed. He closed his eyes and directly went to sleep. Xiaogu naturally wouldn't settle down just like that. She directly stepped on Jiyu's stomach with her whole body and bounced nonstop. However, she didn't dare to use too much force and only bounced lightly. She was more or less still a little afraid that Jiyu would become even more aggressive. After a long while, Jiyu didn't even bat an eyelid, as if he had completely fallen asleep. Seeing that it was useless no matter what she did, Xiaogu really had no other choice and could only search Jiyu's body. She searched from the hair to the neck, then from the neck to the stomach. Jiyu's entire upper body was searched by Xiaogu. She didn't find anything, but Xiaogu still didn't give up. The first few things were still fine, as Jiyu resisted. But then, she became even more vicious. Xiaogu's hand stretched out towards the part below Jiyu's stomach. This time, Jiyu finally couldn't take it anymore and directly sat up. Chapter 392. That's enough. Jiyu was speechless. What would happen if Xiaogu touched that part of his body? Candy. Xiaogu extended her hand toward Jiyu, completely ignoring Jiyu's expression, because she didn't know how serious her actions were. All right, I'll give it to you. Jiyu is helpless, but I can only give you one candy. If you did not compromise a little, this fellow might do something even more outrageous. If he only gave her candy, it would still be considered a punishment. As Jiyu spoke, she took out a candy from her storage ring and placed it in Xiaogu's hand. Ding! Host has activated her spiritual power to open the storage ring. Bronze level spiritual power gained experience. Won by 999 times. Ding! Congratulations, host. Bronze level spiritual power has successfully broken through to the perfected realm. Ding! Bronze level spiritual power has been detected to have reached the perfected realm. Automatically upgraded to silver level spiritual power. Her spiritual power had coincidentally risen to silver level at such a time. Only one? Xiaogu looked at the only candy in her hand and said unsatisfactorily, If you don't want it, I'll take it back. After speaking, Jiyu pretended to take back the candy in Xiaogu's hand. Yes. Xiaogu quickly dodged Jiyu's hand. She immediately stuffed the candy into her mouth, as if she was afraid that Jiyu would snatch it away. All right, I've already given you the candy you wanted. Jiyu said, Don't mess around anymore. After speaking, he continued to cultivate his mystic energy. Actually, he was not sleepy at all. He was just pretending to be asleep earlier. All right. Xiaogu could only sit obediently on Jiyu's lap and slowly taste the candy in her mouth. The night gradually darkened. At this moment, GU's early stage level 9 enlightening mystic cultivation was almost full. She was just short of an opportunity to break through to the next level. However, it was already too late now. GU stopped cultivating first. There was no hurry. She could break through at any time in the future. Now it was time to sleep. Meanwhile, Xiao Gu was directly lying on GU's body, curling up her petite body. This posture was maintained until the next morning. He woke up the next day. GU's first reaction was to feel something pressing against her chin. When he regained consciousness a little, only then did he realize that it was Xiao Gu's head. "It's time to get up," Ji said to Xiao Gu. "Ugh." Xiao Gu slowly opened his eyes. She slowly got up from Jiu's body. "Go wash your face first," Jiu immediately said when she saw that Xiao Gu had woken up so quickly. "Wash my face? What's that?" A puzzled expression appeared on Xiao Gu's sleepy face. "You can't even wash your face." Jiu was halfway through her sentence when she changed her mind. "All right, that's true. I'll teach you then." The reason why he changed his words was because he remembered that Xiao Gu had been sealed for over 1,000 years when she had just started to remember things. There was definitely a lot of common knowledge that she did not know. After that, Jiu brought Xiao Gu to the place where she could wash her face. "I'll demonstrate once, then you can just copy me." As he spoke, Jiu splashed the clear water in the basin onto her face and scrubbed it with her hands at the same time. "Okay." Xiao Gu seemed to understand and nodded. Then, she imitated Jiu and reached into the basin and splashed the clear water on her face. However, Xiao Gu used a little too much strength. Her physical strength was already very terrifying to begin with. With just a little strength, the water splashed everywhere. It even splashed onto Jiu. Jiu was instantly speechless. "Forget it. Let me help you." He immediately helped Xiao Gu wash her face. At the same time, he realized that Xiao Gu's face was practically clean. Actually, she did not even need to wash it. At this moment, Jiu suddenly realized that Xiao Gu had been sealed for over 1,000 years. This should be the first time she was washing her face. Not only was her face not dirty, but her entire body also seemed to be very clean. "I really don't know what kind of existence you are." Jiu couldn't help but mutter to himself. "I'm a calamity skeletal dragon. Why are you so stupid that you still don't know?" Xiao Gu immediately said in disdain when she heard Jiu's mutter. Chapter 393. After a simple wash, Jiu went to deal with today's affairs. Meanwhile, Xiao Gu had always been by his side. Ding! Host has reviewed for 1 minute. Silver level spiritual power gained experience. Won by 999 times. Ding! Host has reviewed for 1 minute. Silver level spiritual power gained experience. Won by 999 times. Ding! Congratulations, host. Silver level spiritual power has successfully broken through to initial success. After spending the entire morning, Jiu quickly finished all the tasks for the day. Now, he was sitting in the main hall. He was thinking about what to do next. Should he continue to stay in the Azure Water Branch Hall as a hall master, or should he take Xiao Gu and run away? At this moment, Jiu remembered that there was a mysterious giant behind the Azure Water Branch Hall. That was the Evolving Temple. He remembered that the Evolving Temple's hands and feet covered the entire southern region. This unknown and mysterious force made Jiu feel very uneasy. "It seems that I have to stay here. At least no one in the Azure Water Branch Hall dares to disobey me." However, just as Jiu thought of this, 2 figures walked in. All right, it seemed that there were still some. Jiu shook his head helplessly, because the 2 people who walked in were the 2 Vice Hall Masters, Yin Ming and Yin Jie. "Greetings to Hall Master Ji," Yin Jie said respectfully. Yin Ming wasn't so polite. He didn't even say a word of courtesy. "Let me guess. The 2 Vice Hall Masters probably think that I am not worthy of the position and want to kick me out of the position?" Ji smiled faintly. Yin Jie's smile gradually disappeared after his intentions were exposed. Yin Ming's face didn't change much, because he had a bad temper to begin with. "Then let's cut the crap. The 2 of you can take turns." Ji Yu said calmly. The two sides were facing each other. Only Xiao Gu was sitting on Ji Yu's lap and eating candy quietly. Its legs were swaying gently, as if nothing was happening around it. However, if Hall Master Ji sends that demon beast of yours again, even if there were 10 of us, we would not be its match. Yin Jian narrowed his eyes and said in a low voice. As he spoke, his gaze landed on the little girl sitting on Ji Yu's lap. This girl looked delicate and cute on the surface, but in reality, she was an extremely terrifying existence. He only glanced at it briefly and didn't dare to continue looking. It's fine. I'm the only one going up this time. She won't make a move. Ji Yu said as she stroked Xiao Gu's hair. All right, you said it yourself, Hall Master Ji. There was no change in Yin Jie's expression, but his heart was filled with joy. The one he was most afraid of was the little girl beside Ji Yu. If that little girl really didn't want to play, then it wouldn't be a problem for him to deal with Ji Yu. He knew that Ji Yu was only at the early stage of Tongxian Realm LV9. This level of cultivation was still a far cry from his LV9 Tongxian Realm Pinnacle cultivation. Putting all of that aside, even the difference between a Tier 9 Tongxian Realm Primary Stage and a Tier 9 Tongxian Realm Intermediate Stage was massive. But everything presupposes that little girl really wouldn't play. But how can we believe that Hall Master Ji won't go back on his words? Yin Jie asked again to be cautious. It's up to you whether you believe me or not. If you want to compete, then compete. If you don't, then get lost. Ji Yu's tone gradually turned cold. You don't have the right to make me go back on my words. Hearing Ji Yu's blatant insult, Yin Ming and Yin Jie's expressions instantly turned ugly. Especially Yin Ming. How could he, who had a straightforward temper, tolerate Ji Yu's insult? He wanted to have a big fight with Ji Yu right here. But he was immediately stopped by Yin Jie. Big brother, calm down. Yin Jie said to Yin Ming through telepathy. We'll teach him a lesson in the arena later. After hearing this, Yin Ming forcefully suppressed his emotions. After that, Yin Jie no longer disguised himself. He looked at Ji Yu with a sinister gaze. Let's compete. Chapter 394. The next day, Azure Water Branch Hall, Challenge Arena. There was a sea of people in the arena. Almost half of the Azure Water Branch Hall's people were gathered here. This Hall Master Ji just took office not long ago, and he has to accept the challenge of the Vice Hall Masters so soon. I heard that the two Vice Hall Masters are not convinced by the newly appointed Hall Master Ji, so they are testing Hall Master Ji's ability. Indeed, it's a good name. Haha, most of the people understood Yin Ming's and Yin Jie's motives this time. It was just that they could not say it out loud. After all, they did not dare to offend the Vice Hall Masters. At the same time, Ji Yu was standing on the arena, waiting for the opponent to come up. As for Xiao Gu, she was told to stay beside the Challenge Arena Elder. She was also told not to interfere this time. Aren't you worried about Hall Master Ji? The Challenge Arena Elder was curious about the little girl beside him, so he tried to find a topic to talk about. It was said that this little girl was transformed from a demonic beast, and her strength was much stronger than the original Hall Master. Such a strong existence was actually willing to follow Hall Master Ji, and she seemed to be very obedient to Hall Master Ji. Hall Master Ji? Are you talking about Ji, that guy? Xiao Gu was expressionless, as if she was talking about a very normal thing. Although his strength is not as good as mine, it is more than enough to deal with those two ants. As the target of Ji Yu's soul contract, other than Ji Yu herself, no one in this world knew Ji Yu's strength better than her. Although Xiao Gu did not understand the cultivation of human martial arts very well. However, from what she could see, those two fellows were much weaker than Ji Yu. Ants, the Challenge Arena Elder was speechless. This little girl was truly ferocious. She had directly called the two Vice Palace Masters ants. Then wouldn't he be worse than an ant in this little girl's eyes? How would he dare to say anything? Speed up. At this time, Ji Yu was a little impatient. Yin Ming and Yin Jie had already discussed. Let me face Hall Master Ji. As he spoke, Yin Ming stepped into the ring. As usual, the Challenge Field Elder briefly explained the rules of the challenge, and then began the countdown. 3, 2, 1. The challenge begins. With an order, Yinming immediately rushed to Jiyu. His speed was extremely fast, and he arrived in front of Jiyu in the blink of an eye. At this moment, an azure treasured saber appeared in Yinming's hand, and he slashed at Jiyu 5 times. Seeing this scene, the crowd below the stage immediately stirred. This is Wolf Blade's 5 slashes. This can be considered a big killing move, right? I didn't expect him to use his true strength right from the start. It's said that Vice Hall Master Yinming once used this move to defeat the Grand Ancestor of a certain sect who was at the peak of Tongxian realm. I'm afraid Hall Master Ji is doomed this time. Vice Palace Master Yinming has cultivated this high-grade, profound rank, Wolf Blade, 5 slashes, to the perfection stage. The power of a full-powered strike is close to that of an Earth-grade profound skill. Many people present were not optimistic about Jiyu, because it was Xiao Gu who defeated Mu Sun last time, and Jiyu did not make a move. So basically, no one knew Jiyu's true strength. They all thought that Hall Master Ji's strength was at most about the same as the Elders. In their opinion, Hall Master Ji was very likely not a match for Vice Palace Master Yinming this time without that little girl's help. However, Jiyu's expression remained indifferent from beginning to end. The instant the opponent's treasured saber landed on his body, he directly used his movement technique to dodge. Ding! Host has used the Earth-grade intermediate rank movement technique, Lightning Flash. Lightning Flash has obtained 999 times of proficiency experience. They saw that Jiyu easily dodged, and Yinming's 5 consecutive saber strikes, which seemed to be shockingly powerful, did not even hit Jiyu once. He felt that all 5 of his saber strikes missed, and he immediately felt that it was very inconceivable. How could this brat's speed be so fast? After dodging Yinming's attack, Jiyu was not in a hurry to make a move, so he liked to play with sabers. Then I'll play with you for a while. At this moment, Jiyu took out a large scarlet saber from his storage ring unhurriedly and said with a faint smile, Chapter 395. Hearing Jiyu's voice, Yinming hurriedly turned around to look at Jiyu. He saw the scarlet treasured saber in Jiyu's hand. Yinming immediately frowned. This scarlet treasured saber didn't seem to be of a lower grade than the one in his hand. He originally thought that this kid was a sword cultivator and didn't expect him to know how to use a saber. At the same time, the crowd below the arena only reacted now. What happened just now? Why isn't Hall Master Ji injured at all? I don't know. I completely didn't see the movements of the Hall Master and Vice Hall Master clearly. It seems that Hall Master Ji dodged all of Vice Hall Master Yinming's 5 slashes of the Wolf Blade. Even his clothes are completely undamaged. Almost everyone was extremely confused. Most of them didn't see clearly what happened just now. Only Yinming, who was at the peak of the 9th level of the Tongxian stage, saw everything clearly. He was extremely surprised by Jiyu's strange speed. It was impossible for an ordinary Tongxian stage martial cultivator to have such a fast speed. Even he felt that he was far inferior to Jiyu's speed just now. Yinming guessed that it was very likely that Jiyu had executed an Earth rank movement technique. Moreover, it wasn't an ordinary Earth rank movement technique. Apart from this, there was no other reasonable explanation. On the other side, Xiao Gu sat there obediently eating sweets and practically didn't pay attention to the situation on the arena. Actually, this was only because she knew that Jiyu wouldn't lose. Come, I'll play with you next, Jiyu said with a relaxed expression. Looking at Jiyu's expression, Yinming felt that the saber Dao he was most proud of was insulted. He instantly flew into a rage and executed the Wolf Blade's 5 slashes again to attack Jiyu. He didn't believe that this kid could dodge it every time. However, this time it was still easily dodged by Jiyu. Ding! Host has executed the Earth rank intermediate level movement technique, Lightning Flash. Lightning Flash has obtained 999 times of proficiency experience. Ding! Congratulations, host. The Earth Rank Intermediate Level Movement Technique. Lightning Flash has successfully broken through to the perfection stage. Not only did he casually dodge his opponent's attack, but he also dodged the attack. Jiyu also took the opportunity to stab Yinming. Ding! The host has performed the Star-Splitting Saber Technique. The Star-Splitting Saber Technique has been increased by 999 times. Ding! Host has activated 50% of half-step blade intent. Experience gained. 50 asterisk 999x. Ding! Congratulations, host. The superior yellow-ranked Star-Splitting Saber Technique has successfully broken through to the crest of perfection stage. Ding! It has been detected that the Star-Splitting Saber Technique has reached the perfection realm and has been automatically upgraded to the inferior Profound Rank Saber Technique, Blazing Saber Technique. At this moment, Yiming had no time to dodge at all. He could only forcefully use the treasured saber in his hand to block, and use a defensive mystic skill to protect his body. After blocking Ji Yu's attack, Yiming only retreated half a step. Yinming was immediately overjoyed. This was because he realized that although this kid's speed was shockingly fast, his saber technique was very ordinary. As long as he could use a defensive profound skill to protect himself in time, this brat would not be able to hurt him. "Humph, I was wondering how capable you were. So this is all you've got?" Yinming sneered. Suddenly, he exclaimed softly, "Oh, I didn't expect you to have comprehended half-step blade intent, but you're still too inexperienced." Only now did he realize that Ji Yu's attack had been mixed with half-step blade intent. With his saber experience, he could feel that this brat had grasped about 50% to 60% of half-step blade intent. However, half-step blade intent. Ji Yu knew it, so did Yinming. In the next moment, a domineering half-step blade intent burst out from Yinming's body. This powerful aura caused almost everyone below the stage to tremble. This is the Deputy Palace Master's 90% half-step blade intent. It's really powerful. Damn, the Deputy Palace Master's half-step blade intent is much stronger than Palace Master Ji's. That's for sure. The Deputy Palace Master is now not far from comprehending the true blade intent. Among all the saber cultivators in the Kanglan Empire, if Deputy Palace Master Yinming claimed to be second, no one would dare to claim to be first. In the eyes of the crowd, as soon as Deputy Palace Master Yinming's 90% half-step blade intent appeared, the situation was immediately one-sided. However, Jiu only smiled and did not say anything. Chapter 396. Although Yinming had unleashed 90% of his half-step saber intent, he did not immediately attack again. This was because Ji was very cunning. If he took the initiative to attack, it was very likely that he would be dodged again. That would be a waste of his stamina and celestial chi, and he would lose sooner or later. Therefore, he planned to wait for the boy to attack so that he could find a chance to deal a fatal blow. Just as Yinming thought of this, he saw Ji Yu take the initiative to attack. He smiled coldly and raised his saber to block, ready to counterattack at any time. However, the reality was different from what he had expected. Ding! The host has used the Blazing Saber Technique. The Blazing Saber Technique has gained 999 times the experience. Ding! Host has activated 50% half-step saber intent. 50% half-step saber intent has gained 999 times the experience. Ding! Congratulations to the host. The inferior Profound Rank Saber Technique, Blazing Saber Technique, has successfully broken through to the initial stage. Ding! Congratulations to the host. The half-step saber intent has broken through to the half-step saber intent of 60%. The scarlet saber in Ji Yu's hand was burning with an invisible flame, and the surrounding temperature rose abruptly. He swung his saber at Yinming, and after Yinming blocked it, he immediately used the superior Profound Rank Saber Technique, Thousand Illusions Flash, to dodge. He saw through Yin Ming's intention, so he did not give Yin Ming a chance to counterattack. As for the movement technique, Ji Yu felt that there was no need for the high-level lightning flash to deal with this guy. The superior profound rank saber technique, Thousand Illusions Flash, was enough, and the celestial chi consumption was much lower than the lightning flash. Although Yin Ming's cultivation was higher than his, Yin Ming was at the peak of LV9 Tongxian stage, while he was at the early stage of LV9 Tongxian stage. However, he had cultivated the king rank technique, Sky Splitter, to the second level and to perfection. The quality of the celestial chi in his body was higher than most LV9 Tongxian stage martial cultivators. Therefore, Ji Yu's cultivation was higher than Yin Ming's. Yin Ming could not do anything to him with a superior profound rank saber technique. On the other hand, because Yin Ming underestimated the power of Ji Yu's blade technique, he only casually used his blade to block and didn't even use a defensive profound skill. As a result, Ji Yu's slash forced him to take a few steps back, and he almost fell to the ground. The web between his thumb and index finger on the hand that was holding the sword was also split open, and blood dripped onto the ground. However, the shock in his heart overshadowed the pain coming from the web between his thumb and forefinger. How did this brat's saber technique suddenly become so powerful? Furthermore, his moves had changed as well. Continue. Ji Yu looked at Yin Ming with contempt and laughed. Yin Ming was pulled out of his inner world by Ji Yu's voice. Continue. He clenched his treasured saber with both hands and gloomily stared at Ji Yu. This time, he would not underestimate his opponent. He didn't believe that this brat could dodge his counterattack every single time. All right. Before his voice fell, Ji Yu had already flashed to Yin Ming's side. Ding. Host has performed the Incinerating Flame Saber Technique. Incinerating Flame Saber Technique has gained 999 times the experience. Ding. Host has activated the 60% half-step saber intent. 60% half-step saber intent has gained 999 times the experience. Ji Yu held the scarlet saber in one hand and slashed at Yin Ming's abdomen from the side. Yin Ming reacted in time, holding the azure treasured saber with both hands and blocking the side of his abdomen. Not only that, but he also performed a mystic high-grade defensive mystic skill at the same time to protect his body. This was his strongest defensive mystic skill, and he no longer dared to underestimate Ji Yu. The moment he blocked Ji Yu's saber, Yin Ming's gaze hardened. He held the treasured saber in his hand and performed the Wolf Blade's 5 slashes at Ji Yu with all his might. The Wolf Blade's 5 slashes without holding back in the slightest, coupled with the 90% half-step saber intent that was infinitely close to saber truth. These 5 slashes almost tore the space apart. Yin Ming firmly believed that if these 5 slashes landed on Ji Yu's body, Ji Yu would definitely die. However, the voice that followed caused him to break down. Wow, that was close, that was close. I was almost cut by you. This relaxed and cheerful voice sounded, and Yin Ming's expression immediately stiffened. He slowly raised his head like a machine and found that Ji Yu was already 3 to 5 meters away from him. This also meant that his full strength attack just now had missed again. Chapter 397. Especially when he saw Ji Yu's relaxed and playful smile, Yin Ming was on the verge of collapse. He had bet everything on that move just now. Even the mystical chi in his body had been squandered away by him, but it was still easily dodged by the opponent. Throughout the entire battle, he hadn't even touched his opponent once, and he was already exhausted. What was there to compete? Ji Yu did not care what this guy was thinking and continued to torture him over and over again. At this time, Yin Ming had lost his will to fight. He did not fight back. He just kept on blocking. Ding. Host has used Burning Flame Saber Technique. Burning Flame Saber Technique gained 999 times the experience. Ding. Host has activated Half-Step Saber Intent. Half-Step Saber Intent gained 999 times the experience. Ji Yu gave Yin Ming scraping after scraping. But in fact, Yin Ming had to use all his strength to block. And using all his strength to block consumed a lot of mystical qi. Originally, Yin Ming did not have much mystical qi left in his body, and this one strike after another completely consumed all the mystical qi in his body. Seeing this scene on the stage, everyone was puzzled. What's wrong with Vice Palace Master Yin Ming? Why is he not moving and letting Palace Master Ji attack? I don't know. Isn't Vice Palace Master Yin Ming in an advantageous position? Why didn't he attack Palace Master Ji? At this time, a protector said to these ordinary disciples, "You guys are really stupid. No matter how powerful Vice Palace Master Yin Ming is, he should be able to beat Palace Master Ji." Hearing this, many people came to a sudden realization. They thought back. It was really like this. From beginning to end, Vice Palace Master Yin Ming did not even touch Palace Master Ji. Only the stronger elders and Yin Jie could see that the real situation was that Yin Ming had lost his will to fight. Especially Yin Jie. He stood under the stage anxiously, not knowing what to do. He could see that his big brother was exhausted and did not even have the strength to resist. No matter what he did, there was no turning back. His elder brother would definitely lose this challenge. At this moment, Yin Ming really couldn't even use a defensive profound skill, and he couldn't even hold the treasured saber firmly. At the same time, Ji Yu's saber technique and saber intent had made significant breakthroughs. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the peak of perfection stage of the mystic rank inferior saber technique. Ding! Detected that blazing flame saber technique has reached the perfection realm, automatically upgraded to the medium profound rank saber technique, blazing wave saber technique. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through from 60% half-step saber intent to 70% half-step saber intent. Ji Yu immediately used the burning wave saber technique. The scarlet broadsword that was burning with invisible flames slashed out layers of raging flames, pushing towards Yin Ming like stormy waves. At this time, Yin Ming had no strength to resist and was pushed out of the ring. His body was still burned by the flames. Seeing this, Yin Jie immediately rushed forward to catch Yin Ming. After dispersing the raging flames on Yin Ming's body, he took out a high-grade healing pill and stuffed it into Yin Ming's mouth. He's defeated. Now it's your turn. Ji Yu stabbed the scarlet broadsword into the ground and looked at Yin Jie expressionlessly. What? Hall Master Ji wants to take turns to fight. That's not good. Hall Master Ji has just defeated Vice Hall Master Yin Ming, and he hasn't recovered his strength yet, and now he wants to challenge Vice Hall Master Yin Jie. Hall Master Ji can definitely fight another day. Why is he in such a hurry? The people below the ring started to discuss. In fact, they felt that Hall Master Ji had only defeated Vice Hall Master Yin Ming with his speed. To put it bluntly, it was not a beautiful victory. However, they did not dare to say it out loud. Moreover, they remembered that Vice Hall Master Yin Ming was famous for his saber Dao, while Vice Hall Master Yin Jie was famous for his speed. When he faced Vice Hall Master Yin Jie later, Hall Master Ji's speed advantage would be gone. Besides, Hall Master Ji was not in his peak condition yet. Therefore, most people felt that Hall Master Ji did not have a high chance of winning against Vice Hall Master Yin Jie. Even a Challenge Arena elder had the same thought. He then whispered to Xiao Gu, who was sitting beside him, "You better persuade Hall Master Ji. It's not good for him to take turns to fight." "There's no need," Xiao Gu replied indifferently. She had candy in her mouth and looked at Ji Yu on the ring. He has no chance of losing. All right, the Challenge Arena elder could not say anything. He was not on Yin Ming and Yin Jie's side, nor was he on Ji Yu's side. He only felt that taking turns to fight was unfair to Hall Master Ji, so he wanted to remind this little girl. As for whether she was willing to listen, it was not his business. Chapter 398. Yin Jie didn't say anything else. He stepped onto the stage with a gloomy expression. His opponent had initiated a tag team battle. It could be interpreted as him being too conceited, but could also be interpreted as him looking down on them. How could he tolerate being looked down on? I'd like to see if your saber or my sword is more powerful. As he spoke, Yin Jie pulled out a sharp sword from his waist. Ji Yu threw the crimson saber aside and took out the cold edge from her storage ring. A sword? Then I'll play with you. Seeing this, Yin Jie could not help but be stunned. This kid not only knew the saber Dao, but also the sword Dao. However, if we're playing with swords, I won't play with you as long as I did with Yin Ming. The cold edge in Ji Yu's hand flashed with a golden light. An extremely terrifying sword Dao true intent emanated from blade. Ding! Host has used Dazzling Sun in the Sky. Dazzling Sun in the Sky has gained 999 times proficiency experience points. Ding! Host has activated 70% Sword Dao True Intent. 70% Sword Dao True Intent has gained 999 times proficiency experience points. Ding! Congratulations, Host. Dazzling Sun in the Sky has successfully broken through to the Greater Heights stage. Ding! Dazzling Sun in the Sky has reached the Greater Perfection stage. It has automatically been upgraded to the Earth Rank Intermediate Level Sword Technique, Dazzling Sun in the Sky. The Earth Rank Sword Technique, Dazzling Sun in the Sky, and the 70% Sword Dao True Intent were unleashed at the same time. A beam of golden light illuminated heaven and earth. Even the dark clouds in the sky seemed to be affected and slowly faded away. As the sword slashed out, there seemed to be an illusion of a sun in the sky that disappeared in an instant. A beam of golden light shot out from the cold edge. The entire arena suddenly became extremely hot. This beam of golden light expanded rapidly and finally formed a huge sword wave. Yin Jie stared at the terrifying sword wave in front of him with his mouth agape. In that instant, he felt a suffocating pressure and the threat of death. Block! I have to block, Yin Jie kept repeating in his mind. However, in the next instant, he couldn't take it anymore. Block my F** king head. In order to save his life, Yin Jie couldn't care less. He didn't hold back at all as he used his movement technique and desperately escaped from the ring. If he still didn't flee, he would have to die in the arena. After being hit by that terrifying sword wave, even if he didn't die, he would be severely injured. Since he was going to lose anyway, he might as well just admit defeat. Seeing that Yin Jie had taken the initiative to admit defeat, Ji Yu also moved her mind. That enormous golden sword wave began to slowly dissipate. Only when it was about to approach the tip of Yin Jie's nose did the sword wave completely disperse. Seeing the sword wave disappear in front of his eyes, Yin Jie was so frightened that his heart was about to jump out of his chest. After a while, when he realized that he was fine, he gradually calmed down. Vice Palace Master Yin Jie's wretched appearance shocked everyone present. In particular, the golden sword wave just now had greatly shocked their eyes. Before this, they had never seen such a terrifying move. This is the true strength of the Palace Master. We have underestimated the Palace Master's strength. If that's the case, earlier, Lord Palace Master was just playing around with Vice Palace Master Yin Ming. Fortunately, Lord Palace Master stopped in time. Otherwise, we might have all died here. Everyone was extremely shocked. Today, they had witnessed Palace Master Ji's true strength for the first time. Furthermore, they were not sure if he had used his full strength, because Palace Master Ji's expression was extremely relaxed from beginning to end, as if he did not feel any pressure at all. It was simply to the extent that the two Vice Palace Masters did not have any room to retaliate. Everyone guessed that perhaps only the appearance of a spirit profound realm almighty could make Palace Master Ji take it seriously. However, in the entire Kanglan Empire, whether there were any spirit profound realm almighty existences was still a question. Even if there were, it was very likely that they had already left the Kanglan Empire. Boring. Ji shook her head in boredom and disappeared from the stage. Ding! Host has used Earth Rank Middle Level Movement Technique Flash of Thunder. Flash of Thunder has obtained 999 times the experience. In the next moment, Ji-Yu's figure appeared beside Xiao Gu. All right, we can go now. So slow. I have already finished my candy for a long time. Xiao Gu's tone carried a trace of complaint. I just accidentally played with them for a while. It's not a big problem, Ji-Yu said casually. When she said that, the surrounding people could not help but sigh. In the eyes of the palace master, the earlier battle of attrition was completely a game from today onwards. In the hearts of everyone in the Azure Water Palace Hall, Palace Master Ji had become the undisputed #1 expert of the Azure Water Palace Hall. As for that little girl, strictly speaking, she was not a part of the Azure Water Palace Hall. After all, her original form was a demonic beast, although they did not know what kind of demonic beast she was. Furthermore, that girl was originally Palace Master Ji's demonic pet, so she could be considered one of Palace Master Ji's strengths. Chapter 399. After that, no one in the Navy Tide Branch Hall dared to question Ji-Yu's strength anymore. Even the two Deputy Hall Masters, Yin Ming and Yin Jie, were defeated without any dignity. Who would dare to question him? As for the other Deputy Hall Master, it was Wen Yin-yang. He had never doubted Ji-Yu from the very beginning. From the moment Ji-Yu subdued the Calamity Skeletal Dragon, he had been full of respect for this young man, especially when the Calamity Skeletal Dragon had stayed in the Navy Tide Branch Hall for so many days without causing any trouble. How could he doubt a young man who could make a rank 5 demonic beast listen to him? At this moment, Ji-Yu was cultivating his celestial qi in his room. He planned to break through to mid-stage level 9 Tongxian realm in one go. Ding! Host has cultivated celestial qi for 1 minute. Martial cultivation gained experience. 100 by 999 times. Ding! Host has cultivated celestial qi for 1 minute. Martial cultivation gained experience. 100 by 999 times. Ding! Congratulations, host. Martial cultivation has successfully broken through to mid-stage level 9 Tongxian realm. Not long after, he naturally made a breakthrough in his cultivation. At the same time, he circulated the sky-splitting technique to suppress the commotion caused by the breakthrough so as to not wake up Xiao Gu, who was sleeping. Actually, it was not yet nighttime. Xiao Gu was still a young dragon, so its sleep time was longer than usual. For the time being, Ji-Yu could only stay here. This was to prevent Xiao Gu from running around and causing trouble when it woke up and realized that he was not in the room. Since he was bored, Ji-Yu carefully looked at the things in his storage ring. There were countless gold coins, all kinds of materials, elixirs, artifacts. There was a dazzling pile of items. Ji-Yu had not organized the storage ring for a long time, so it was a bit messy. At this moment, he suddenly saw 3 sets of elixir recipes. Seeing these 3 sets of elixir recipes, he remembered that he had not looked at the elixir recipes that the Nangong clan had given him. He immediately took out the 3 sets of elixir recipes and looked at them one by one. Ding! Host has taken a look at the incomplete elixir recipe and triggered 999 times comprehension ability. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully comprehending the first portion of the 6th grade medicinal pill, Great Heaven Profound Yang Pill. In that instant, Ji-Yu completely grasped the pill formula. However, this was only the first part. According to the knowledge given by the system, this pill formula had a total of 5 parts. Therefore, it was useless to completely master the first part. Only by mastering all 5 parts would one be able to succeed. As for this 6th grade pill, the Great Heaven Profound Yang Pill, it seemed to be a type of extreme yang item, but he wasn't sure what use it had. Then, Ji-Yu looked at the 2nd pill formula. Ding! Host glanced at the incomplete pill formula, triggering 999 times comprehension ability. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully comprehending the 2nd portion of the 6th grade medicinal pill, Great Heaven Profound Yang Pill. Ji-Yu stared blankly for a moment before realizing that this was the 2nd part of the Great Heaven Profound Yang Pill recipe. Then wouldn't the 3rd pill formula be the same? With that thought in mind, Jiyu immediately looked at the third pill formula. Ding! Host glanced at the incomplete pill formula, triggering 999 times comprehension ability. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully comprehending the third portion of the 6th grade medicinal pill, Great Heaven Profound Yang Pill. As expected, this third pill formula was also the incomplete pill formula of the Great Heaven Profound Yang Pill. Ji was very concerned about this. The Nangong family gave him 3 incomplete pill formulas of the Great Heaven Profound Yang Pill. Was it just a gift? Or did they have other intentions? Ji couldn't figure it out, so he could only keep it for now and ask the Nangong family head later. Thinking of this, he suddenly felt that it was time for him to return to the Qianyuan Marshall Mansion. After leaving for so long, he didn't know how Jiang Yuechu, Jiang Yuexin, and Qi Ling were doing. Although Ji Yu was the palace master now, it wasn't impossible for him to leave the Kanglin Branch Palace. If he finished dealing with the day's affairs in the morning, he could find time to leave the Kanglin Branch Palace. Moreover, this time, he only needed to take a look at the Qianyuan Marshall Mansion. It wouldn't take much time. Chapter 400. At night, Ji took out the pills that she had not used in her storage ring. There were quite a lot of pills. If she consumed all of them, her cultivation should be able to break through again. Ding! Host has consumed a grade for intermediate pill. Host cultivation has increased by 999 times. Ding! Host has consumed a grade for superior pill. Host cultivation has increased by 999 times. Ding! Congratulations, host. Martial cultivation has successfully broken through to late-stage LV9 Tongxian realm. The effects of the pills did not stop even after reaching late-stage LV9 Tongxian realm. The effects only gradually disappeared when her cultivation was about to break through to the peak of LV9 Tongxian realm. However, Ji did not have any more pills on her. If she wanted to break through to the peak of LV9 Tongxian realm, she had to cultivate mystic energy. Ding! Host has cultivated mystic energy for 1 minute. Martial cultivation gained experience. 100 by 999 times. Ding! Host has cultivated mystic energy for 1 minute. Martial cultivation gained experience. 100 by 999 times. Ding! Congratulations, host. Martial cultivation has successfully broken through to the peak of LV9 Tongxian realm. In the middle of the night, Jiyu's cultivation broke through again and reached the peak of LV9 Tongxian realm. You're still cultivating? At this moment, Xiaogu woke up. No, I'm going to sleep. With that, Jiyu got off the bed. Where are you going? Xiaogu asked. To take a bath. Jiyu replied. Oh, although Xiaogu did not know what a bath was, it was fine as long as Jiyu did not go too far away from her. After a quick bath, Jiyu went to bed. The next day, after quickly settling all the affairs in the morning, she left the Kanglin Branch Hall with Xiaogu in the afternoon. As the hall master, Jiyu did not need to explain anything to anyone. As long as she did not leave for a few days, it was fine. Jiyu put on her black clothes and left the Kanglin Branch Hall with Xiaogu. Xiaogu did not need to change back to her original form. The wings on her back grew again. After a while, Xiaogu flew to the royal city with Jiyu. Because Xiaogu's speed was extremely fast, and it wasn't as big as its original body, no one on the ground noticed that someone was flying over from the sky. We're here. Looking at the familiar royal city below, Jiyu immediately said to Xiaogu. Hearing this, Xiaogu immediately descended to the ground. There just happened to be no one nearby, so practically no one had seen Jiyu and Xiaogu descend from the sky. Jiyu looked around and realized that they were in a rather remote place. In other words, they were still very far away from the Qianyuan Marshall House. Without hesitation, Jiyu held Xiaogu's hand and headed to the Qianyuan Marshall Mansion. He was too lazy to walk slowly on such a long journey. Ding! Host has performed the Earth-ranked mid-level movement skill, Flash of Thunder. Flash of Thunder has gained 999 times the experience. Ding. Host has performed the Earth-ranked mid-level movement skill Flash of Thunder. Flash of Thunder has gained 999 times the experience. Soon, Ji-Yu arrived at the Qinyuan Martial Mansion. The current Qinyuan Martial Mansion did not change much compared to before. In fact, he was stopped by the guards again, as usual. After all, he was dressed in black, which did not fit in with the normal attire of the Qinyuan Martial Mansion. He would definitely be suspected by the guards. Ji took out his identity token from his storage ring and showed it to the guards. This was his identity token in the Qinyuan Martial Mansion. He had kept it in his storage ring for a long time. Chief Ji. The guard was shocked when he saw the identity token. At this moment, he suddenly realized that this person in front of him looked very familiar. It was Chief Ji. The guard apologized profusely, afraid that he would anger Ji-Yu. "It's fine," Ji-Yu said indifferently. Then, he pulled Xiao Gu into the Qinyuan Martial Mansion. Not long after they entered the Qinyuan Martial Mansion, a young man walked towards them. This little girl's looks are really not bad." The young man stared at Xiao Gu, who was beside Ji-Yu. His eyes gradually became lewd. At this moment, Xiao Gu pulled Ji-Yu's hand. "I don't like this guy. Can I hit him?" Chapter 401. "Brad, is this your sister? Let her play with me," the young man said to Ji-Yu in an arrogant and overbearing manner. There were quite a few people passing by. When they saw what was happening, they all gathered around. "This guy is bullying the new students again. I've been seeing him bully the new students for the past few days. This guy's name is Zhou Jiwen. Do you know Zhou Jiwu? He's this guy's brother." "What? You're talking about Zhou Jiwu, who's ranked 4th in the Inner Palace. No wonder this guy is so brazen. He has such a powerful backer." The surrounding students seemed to be new students as well. Although they had heard of Ji-Yu's reputation, they had never seen what Ji-Yu looked like. Even if they had seen a portrait, they wouldn't be able to recognize him immediately. Furthermore, Ji-Yu was still young. His appearance would change very quickly. Compared to the portraits that were wildly circulated by the families, his appearance had already changed a little. Compared to before, his appearance had become more mature. There was also a hint of sharpness in that maturity. "Don't be anxious." Ji-Yu lightly touched Xiao Gu's hair. "Brat, didn't you hear what I said?" Feeling that he was being ignored, Zhou Jiwen's expression turned ugly. "You better get lost before I change my mind." Ji-Yu looked at the young man coldly. He had only temporarily stopped Xiao Gu because he was giving face to Murong clan master. Otherwise, if Xiao Gu acted up, this entire area would probably be destroyed. As for this reckless guy in front of him, he had already given this guy a chance. He wouldn't give him a second chance. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect that there would be someone more arrogant than me in the Outer Palace. Zhou Jiwen didn't take Ji-Yu's words seriously at all. He even treated it as a joke. Ji-Yu couldn't be bothered to continue talking nonsense. His gaze turned cold. He instantly appeared in front of the other party. He placed his palm on the other party's face and pressed it to the ground. Zhou Jiwen couldn't react at all. He only felt his body uncontrollably fall backward. In the next moment, he lost consciousness. Ji-Yu's speed was too fast. By the time the surrounding people came back to their senses, Zhou Jiwen had already fallen to the ground unconscious. Especially when they saw Zhou Jiwen bleeding profusely from the back of his head, everyone was scared silly. Looking at the unconscious Zhou Jiwen on the ground, Ji-Yu shook her head helplessly. He didn't want to hurt someone as soon as he returned, but this guy just had a court death. This wasn't just a normal death, actually daring to harbor evil intentions toward Xiao Gu. Murder! Murder! Hurry and inform the elders. Lower your voice. Do you want to die? It seems that someone has already gone to look for Senior Zhou Jiwu. Moreover, Senior Zhou Jiwu should be nearby. I even bumped into him on my way here. Some people said cautiously in private, "That eyesore is finally gone. It's a pity that I couldn't punch that guy." At that moment, Xiao Gu said regretfully, "Let's continue." Ji-Yu held Xiao Gu's hand and continued to walk inside. However, at this moment, a young man rushed over with a movement technique. "Senior Zhou is here." It was unknown who shouted this out. Immediately, everyone knew that Zhou Jiwu was here. How dare you? Zhou Jiwu was about to say something fierce when he saw the other party's face clearly. His voice stopped abruptly. "See, Chief Ji," Zhou Jiwu said in shock. The new outer sect disciples couldn't recognize him, but as an inner sect disciple, he could recognize that this young man in black was Chief Ji, especially since he had always used Chief Ji as his motivation to cultivate. As soon as he said that, the others were also shocked. Chief Ji, there was only one chief disciple in the entire Qianyuan martial house. Didn't that mean that this person was the legendary prodigy, Ji? Currently, Jiyu's reputation was like thunder in the entire Kanglan Empire. Almost everyone had heard of Jiyu's achievements. This legendary figure was actually standing in front of them right now. "How dare I what?" At this moment, Jiyu asked with a smile. "No, nothing at all." Zhou Jiwu shook his head repeatedly. He didn't dare to say anything in front of Jiyu. He didn't need to ask to know that this time, it was definitely his idiotic younger brother who took the initiative to do something. He could only let this idiot bear the consequences of his own actions. Moreover, it seemed that Chief Ji had held back. His younger brother was only seriously injured and unconscious. He didn't die completely. "Thank you for your mercy, Chief Ji." At that thought, Zhou Jiwu hurriedly expressed his gratitude. Jiyu, on the other hand, did not pay any more attention to him. She continued to lead Little Gu inside. Seeing that Jiyu didn't say anything else, Zhou Jiwu couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. He was afraid that Chief Ji would take care of him and his younger brother in a fit of anger. Chapter 402. The news of Jiyu's return quickly spread throughout the Qianyuan martial house. Jiang Yuechu and Jiang Yuexin, who were cultivating with Murong Zili in the Violet Gold Palace, also heard the news of Jiyu's return. With Murong Zili's permission, they couldn't wait to leave the Violet Gold Palace to see Jiyu. However, as soon as they walked out of the Violet Gold Palace, they saw Jiyu walking towards them from not far away. Jiang Yuexin was overjoyed, but her expression soon changed to one of confusion, because she saw that there seemed to be a very young girl beside Jiyu. Jiang Yuechu was also very curious about that little girl. "Are you slacking off again?" At this time, Jiyu's voice sounded. "Who's slacking off? Didn't we come out to see you?" The more she spoke, the softer Jiang Yuexin's voice became. That shy appearance of hers still didn't change. "Jiyu, you're back," Jiang Yuechu said with a faint smile. "And I'm back." Jiyu nodded. The atmosphere gradually became warm. However, at this time, a voice broke this warmth. "Jiyu, who are these two human women to you?" It was Xiao Gu's voice. "This is Jiang Yuechu, and this is Jiang Yuexin." Jiyu introduced them to Xiao Gu one by one. "They're both my fiancés." "Fiancés?" Xiao Gu asked with a puzzled expression. "I don't understand what this means. For the time being, they're considered your family, right?" "You can say that," Jiyu replied. There was nothing wrong with calling fiancés family. "Then I want to be your fiancé too. Is that okay?" Xiao Gu looked up at Jiyu with an innocent expression. Jiyu didn't know what to say for a moment. It was obvious that this fellow didn't understand what fiancés meant. "No!" At this moment, Jiang Yuexin objected loudly. Then, she pointed at Xiao Gu and asked Jiyu angrily, "I wanted to ask just now, who is she?" "Her name is Xiao Gu. It's a little troublesome to explain, so just treat her as my little sister." Jiyu said. If he wanted to explain the ins and outs of the matter, the Calamity Bone Dragon and the soul contract would be too troublesome. Now, with his relationship with Xiao Gu, it would be most appropriate to describe them as siblings. "Younger sister?" Jiang Yuexin looked at the girl and then at Jiyu. He discovered that he didn't look like one at all. Furthermore, this little girl had strange things growing on her head and back. "I want to be Jiyu's fiancé. What right do you have to stop me?" At that moment, Xiao Gu said to Jiang Yuexin unhappily. "No means no." Jiang Yuexin did not back down. "Yuexin, wait a moment," Jiang Yuechu suddenly said. She asked Xiao Gu gently, "Xiao Gu, You probably don't know the true meaning of fiancés, right? Oh, I really don't know. Xiaogu thought for a moment and shook her head. Then, you actually just want to be Ji Yu's family? Jiang Yuechu continued asking. That's right. What else could it be? Xiaogu said matter-of-factly. Yes, elder sister, I understand. After saying that, Jiang Yuechu smiled at Xiaogu again. Then, she turned to Jiang Yuexin and said, Yuexin, do you understand now? I understand. Jiang Yuexin said proudly. This fellow is old enough to be your ancestor. Ji Yu couldn't help but ridicule in her heart when she heard Jiang Yuechu call her elder sister. Speaking of which, why does she keep saying something about me? At this moment, Jiang Yuexin leaned over to Ji Yu's ear and asked. That's her habit. There's no need to pay attention to so many details. Ji Yu casually explained. So, can I become Ji Yu's fiancés or not? Xiaogu asked again. Jiang Yuexin was just about to say something when Jiang Yuechu stopped her again. Fiancés are a little different from what you think. Jiang Yuechu said amiably, fiancés. They're going to be married in the future. Married? What does that mean? Xiaogu continued asking. Married. It means officially getting married. It can also be understood as becoming a family. Jiang Yuechu didn't know how to explain. Family? Isn't that the same as being a family member? Xiaogu asked. Because Xiaogu was too naive, the entire topic was circled around again. Chapter 403. Why are you so silly? At this moment, Ji Yu couldn't bear to watch this any longer. She reminded Jiang Yuechu, can't you just leave the word fiancé aside? Hearing this, Jiang Yuechu suddenly came to a realization. Of course she can become Ji Yu's family. Jiang Yuechu immediately said to Xiaogu. Ji was right. Since Xiaogu couldn't understand the meaning of fiancé, then she should just leave the word fiancé out. That's good. Xiaogu gave a sound of acknowledgement. Actually, if not for the fact that Jiang Yuechu and Jiang Yuexin were Ji Yu's family, she would have already attacked them. Why would she waste time talking nonsense here? Following this, Xiaogu looked at Ji Yu expectantly. Seeing Ji Yu nod silently, she immediately smiled happily. Ji Yu, what's the relationship between you and Xiaogu? Jiang Yuexin was becoming more and more interested in Xiaogu. In the end, she couldn't help but ask, didn't I tell you before? You can treat her as my younger sister. Ji was a little confused. She had clearly explained it before. You want me to treat her as your younger sister? Does that mean you have some other relationship with her? Jiang Yuexin continued to ask. Forget it. I'll just say it directly. Hearing Jiang Yuexin's question, Ji Yu could only explain more clearly. Xiaogu is actually not a human. She's a demonic beast called the Calamity Bone Dragon. Right now, she can be considered to have an inseparable relationship with me. After a simple explanation, Ji Yu couldn't be bothered to continue explaining. In any case, you don't have to worry. She won't hurt us. In reality, Jiang Yuexin wasn't worried about whether they would be hurt. An inseparable relationship. Jiang Yuexin looked deeply at Xiaogu. She immediately felt that this little girl was a huge threat. She's actually a demonic beast. On the other hand, Jiang Yuechu was astonished. Demonic beasts could actually transform into human form. This completely refreshed Jiang Yuechu's understanding of demonic beasts. In her impression, demonic beasts were all ferocious and cruel. As for Xiaogu, it was the complete opposite. Innocent, pure, and adorable. At this time, Ji Yu suddenly sensed that Murongzi Li was at the entrance of the Zijin temple, looking over here. Man, her head Murong. Ji Yu immediately turned around and said to Murongzi Li, it has been a while since we last met. I didn't expect you to have already reached the 9th level of the Tongxin realm. Murongzi Li's tone revealed a trace of surprise. Hearing those words, Jiang Yuechu was first surprised. Then, she felt happy. He was happy that Ji Yu had become so strong. As for Jiang Yuexin, she was also happy about this. But when he thought of his own cultivation level, which was at the 7th level of the defensive profound realm, he was shocked. This was the result of her hard work during this period of time. As for Jiyu, she had already cultivated to the 9th level of the Tongxian realm. The difference was too great. Thinking that she couldn't help Jiyu at all now, Jiang Yuexin couldn't help but feel a bit dejected. At the same time, Jiyu was also surprised. But what surprised him was that Manor Head Murong actually saw through his cultivation with a single glance. Could it be that was the effect of Manor Head Murong's amethyst eyes? Jiyu suddenly thought of the first time he saw Murong Zili. Through the system, he discovered that Murong Zili had the bloodline eye technique, amethyst eyes. Moreover, he had comprehended the amethyst eyes. It was a pity that Jiyu had only comprehended the second half of the cultivation manual. If it was the first half of the cultivation manual, then it would be fine. Only the second half of the cultivation manual was useless. In any case, there was a beginning of the first half, so he knew how to cultivate at the beginning. But there was only the end of the second half, so he didn't even know how to cultivate at the beginning. Ji thought for a moment. If there was a chance in the future, he had to obtain the first half of the bloodline eye technique amethyst eyes from Manor Head Murong. Apart from Manor Head Murong, Jiyu hadn't discovered any other bloodline eye techniques. Such a rare bloodline eye technique was undoubtedly very powerful. Also, why are you dressed like a member of the Temple of Evolution? Murong Zili asked again. When this question was asked, Jiang Yuechu and Jiang Yuexin were both stunned. Even Jiyu herself was slightly taken aback. Manor Head Murong could even see this with a single glance. This was out of his expectations. Yuexin quickly get away from him. At the same time, Murong Zili sent a message to Jiang Yuechu and Jiang Yuexin through mental communication. Jiyu? Jiang Yuexin's expression gradually became incredulous as she looked at Jiyu in disbelief. Although Jiang Yuechu also found it hard to believe, Manor Head Murong definitely wouldn't say such a thing for no reason. Let's go back first. Jiang Yuechu hurriedly pulled Jiang Yuexin away from Jiyu. Chapter 404. Why are you so agitated? It's not like I'm going to do anything to you. Jiyu smiled awkwardly. Hearing this, Jiang Yuechu and Jiang Yuexin immediately stopped in their tracks. They looked at Jiyu with complicated expressions. The two of them understood that they had just been in close contact with Jiyu for so long. If Jiyu wanted to make a move, with her 9th stage Tongxian realm cultivation, they wouldn't be able to run at all. However, Manor Master Murong wouldn't make that kind of joke. Moreover, Jiyu's outfit was very similar to that of the people from the Evolution Temple. After hesitating for a while, Jiang Yuechu and Jiang Yuexin didn't move. Since they had to choose, they were more willing to believe in Jiyu than Manor Master Murong. Not only that, even Murong Zili felt that it was a bit strange. She remembered it clearly. Jiyu's outfit was definitely the uniform of the people from the Evolution Temple. However, when Yuchu and Yuexin had been in contact with Jiyu for so long, Jiyu indeed didn't make a move against them. Could it be that Jiyu had other intentions? At this time, Murong Zili's gaze fell on the little girl next to Jiyu. She felt an extremely dangerous aura from this little girl. However, she couldn't see through it no matter what. Compared to Jiyu, this little girl was clearly more dangerous. Because Murong Zili didn't hear the conversation between Jiyu, Jiang Yuechu, and Jiang Yuexin, she didn't know that this little girl was transformed from a demonic beast. Don't be nervous. Don't be agitated. Let's go in and have a good chat first, Jiyu said with a smile. Then, she slowly walked into the violet gold hall. Murong Zili was silent. She also wanted to see what Jiyu was up to. Jiang Yuechu and Jiang Yuexin both chose to believe Jiyu. She believed that Jiyu wouldn't hurt them. Therefore, they still returned to Jiyu's side and walked into the violet gold palace together. I'm sorry for suspecting you. Me too. As soon as the two of them returned to Jiyu's side, they started to apologize. It's all right. Jiyu smiled nonchalantly. Normal people would do that. It's already very good that you're willing to believe me now. After all, when they were very young, The people of the Azure Water Branch Hall had brought fatal harm to their entire family. On the contrary, Ji was surprised that they could trust her so quickly. Even so, Jiang Yuechu and Jiang Yuexin still felt a little guilty. Along the way, Murong Li seemed to be unperturbed. In fact, he was constantly paying attention to Ji behind him. As long as Ji showed any signs of attacking the two girls, she would immediately stop him. However, until they walked into the Violet Gold Palace and sat down, Ji's expression was as calm as usual. Ji, what are you trying to do? Murong Li asked solemnly. For the Evolution Temple or Azure Water Branch Hall? Although she didn't know much, she knew a lot of things. According to her observation, the people of the Azure Water Branch Hall had a purpose every time they acted. And no matter who it was, once they entered the Azure Water Branch Hall, after they came out, they didn't care about old friendships or even family. Basically, Ji definitely had a purpose for coming back this time. However, Murong Li reckoned that Ji's purpose for coming back this time wasn't Jiang Yuechu and Jiang Yuexin, but something else. What purpose? I just came back to see Yuechu and Yuexin. Ji said with an indifferent expression. That's all. Murong Li asked. Clearly, she didn't believe what Ji said. That's all. Ji nodded and said, however, I have to tell you why I joined the Azure Water Branch Hall. As expected, Murong Li's eyes flickered slightly. She wasn't wrong. Ji really did join the Azure Water Branch Hall. She didn't know what happened a while ago. With Ji's strength, she shouldn't have been so easily captured by the Azure Water Branch Hall. Hearing this, Jiang Yuechu and Jiang Yuexin's expressions changed slightly. They weren't willing to accept this fact. Then what about me? At this moment, a familiar voice suddenly came from outside the hall, interrupting them. Ji subconsciously turned around and found that it was Qi Linger. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.